Okay. The tunes are available in all the groups. Okay. So if you are in the group, you should be able to access. I'll send right now to the Zoom chat as well. Okay. I'll be sending the two PDFs to the Zoom chat as well. Okay. You can access them from the Zoom chat. Okay. Don't worry about the group if you are not in the group right now. Right. If you don't. Yeah, we'll see. So today's plan is right. Okay, we'll start. Anyone who's having any connection issue, you all can hear me and see me very clearly, right? Any issues, please quickly let me know. Okay, so please keep the chat, let's say, without any spam. Don't spam the chat because it's a learning environment. Okay, otherwise I would have to remove the permissions to chat. Okay, otherwise uh, the opportunity for you to be interactive would be lost, right? So I'll enable chat option when we are having a break, but otherwise I'll maybe might have to sort of remove the chat. But anyway, it's all right. It's done as a free seminar. So anyone who who has a requirement to get this covered before you go to the exam, I'm doing this for you. Okay, so small introduction. I'm Chirat Ishwar. So I am doing A-level English medium biology, right? And I'm a medical student. Actually, I'm almost about to graduate, right? So I have A-level biology teaching experience for the past 4 to 5 years. I did my O-levels in 2016, so almost 10 years ago, but the exact same syllabus, right? And A-level biology is just the next step that you have to tackle. Of course, if you are doing A-level biology, then you can progress to biology. එමයි කියලා science කරන්න ඕනේ, right? Science O-level science කියලා කියන්නේ it's a tough subject, right? But anyway, O-levels කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? O-levels is a what we call as a bar exam නේ. ඒක it's not competitive නේ. You only have to pass O-levels, right? You can get 9 A's, of course. That's a very good achievement. But it's what we call as a bar exam. නේ. අපි තව කට්ටිය පොඩ්ඩක් join වෙනකම් let's have a small introduction, right? So we'll start the seminar proper in a, with the tunes, right? So we can say your O levels, right? It's a bar exam. නේ. I'm not wasting your time. I'm just sort of comparing a little. You have to pass it to do what? To progress to A levels. නේ. That's what you have to do. You have to pass it to move on to A levels. But your A levels is what? It's a competitive exam. It's competitive. Why? What are you competing for? What are you competing for? You are competing to get to university. I mean, it's a qualification that you are. So O levels is a qualification as well. But depending on your rank, you are going to be ranked in your A levels according to a Z score, no? According to a Z score. There are rankers. You know, all of you, if you have a positive Z score, you are going to get an island rank. ඒ island rank එක මත තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ if you're applying for a state university, medicine, engineering, then molecular biology, dentistry, veterinary science, computer science, right? All the other applied sciences, everything, anything that you are going to do will depend on this It's a competitive exam, right? So what you have to do is in the coming 2 months, මෙන්න මේක ඉවරයක් කළා දා. O levels ඉවරයක් කළා දාලා ටක් ගාලා A levels වලට එන්න, right? But in O levels you are developing the skills. All A level වලට ඕන skills ටික develop වෙන්නේ O levels, right? And I'm not going, ඒ කියන්නේ නිකන් trend එකට යනවට වඩා I want to have an exposure. මටත් ආසාවක් තියෙනවා O level ළමයි එක්ක expose වෙලා experience එක අරගෙන මගේ A levels teaching වලට ඒ experience එක ගෙනියන්න. That's why I'm doing this. Right? ඔයගලන්ට help එකකටත් එක්ක මටත් help එකකට. ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ කොයි වගේ step එකකින්ද A levels වලට එන්නේ කියන එකට මටත් idea එකක් ගන්න මේ වගේ seminars from my side it's help. All right? And I already told you අපි biology කියන එකට ආවොත් right? Yeah. biology කියන subject එකට ආවොත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ textbook වල green color parts ටික ඔයගොල්ලෝ boring කියලා maybe even I was right, even I found the O level biology parts very boring. Why is that? Because it's a theoretical subject. Just theory. If you know the theory you can get marks, right? So you will think it's all about memorization. මතකයට දාගන්න විතර. ඇත්තටම memorization, if you can memorize you can get the maximum mark. A level bio වලත් එහෙම තමයි. But most of us, 99% of us don't have a photographic memory නේ. අපිට page එක දැක්ක ගාම every word මතකෙට ඉන්නේ නැහැ, right? So because of that it's important that you find ways to actively learn bio. Actively with understanding ඉගෙනගෙන ඒකේ theory ටික memory එකට කොහොම හරි දාගෙන ඒ actively learn කරන ගමන් memory එකට දාගන්න method එකක්. O level කාලෙදී මේගොල්ලෝ develop කරගත්තොත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට A level වලට ආවම bio කියන්නේ stressful subject එකක් නෙවෙයි. bio කරන්න ඕනේ. මම මේ කියන්නේ දැනට ඔයගොල්ලෝ bio කරනවානේ O level bio, right? ඒක ගොඩ දාගෙන ඉන්න එපා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ maths කරන්න නිකන් මේ bio කියන part එක අතාරින්න කොයි වෙලාවෙද බලන් ඉන්නේ නැහැ ඇති, right? It's fine, right? Within 2 weeks you can let go of biology, but others who are going to do bio for A levels start practicing how to start memorizing, how to study theoretical subjects, right? So biology වගේ memorization subject එකක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ short term memory එකට දාගන්න එක, why is it beneficial? Because that's the, let's say, the most practical way, right? අපි ඔක්කොම right ඔයගොල්ලන්ට physics ගණන් ටික හදලා practice කරලා තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. chemistry apply කරන්න ඕන theory ටික examples උත් එක්ක මතක තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. But if you come to bio, it's just facts නේ. It's facts. facts ටික short term memory එකට ගිහිල්ලා දාගෙන ගිහිල්ලා exam එකේදී දාලා එන්න පුළුවන් නම් that's also a good method. අපි යුනිවර්සිටි එකට ගියාම ක්‍රෑමක් දානවා කියලා කියන්නේ. එක්සෑම් එකට කලින් දවසේ අපි ඔලුවට ක්‍රෑම් කරගෙන යනවා කියලා කියන්නේ. right? ඔලුවට ක්‍රෑම් කරගෙන යනවා. එහෙම කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. එහෙම කළා ෆස්ට් ක්ලාස් දාපු අය ලංකාවෙන් පළවෙනිය වෙච්ච අය. So one of my targets with this seminar series is actually to help you with do that also. Short term memory එකට අන්තිම මොහොතේ මේක ඔලුවට දාගන්න help එකක් දෙන එකත් one of the targets. Okay, so what are my targets? I want to help you master the biology parts in your science syllabus in a short period of time. Take it to a short term memory, exam එකට ගෙනියන්න. exam එකට ගෙනියන්න මේ fresh memories ටික. Okay, then I want to, as a A level teacher, I want to get an experience with O level teaching as well, right? So that's what I'm doing from my side. Okay, so with that we'll get to today's parts. Do you have any questions that you want to ask? Please cover all bio parts. I'll try my best, right? But for today, let's cover today's objectives. Huh? Let's cover today's objectives. Afterwards, keep in touch. right? As time permits, I'll see what I can do. Okay. So today, just focus with the goals for today, right? Other තියෙන goals ටිකට focus කරලා ඉන්නකො. Okay. Anyone who can't understand a word of single anything? Yeah, of course. I'm giving you recording. Yeah.
Me, sir.
I'm giving you recording. Yes. And next week there will be a YouTube live, right? Because I don't have my technical person today to arrange the YouTube live. So next week there's going to be a YouTube live. And yes, of course, I'll give you the recording. No issue. Cannot understand Sinhala. I'm repeating everything in English as well. Whatever I say in Sinhala, English වලිනුත් කියනවා. Okay. Whatever I say in Sinhala, I'm going to repeat in English. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. අපි වැඩි පටන් ගමු එහෙනම්. No issue. Right. Okay. වැඩි පටන් ගමු. What do you have? What do you need to have? Take out your textbooks. Grade 10 science textbook එක ගැන ටක් ගාලා final time එකට. Teacher කෙනෙක්ගෙන් අන්තිම වතාවට ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. So the final time you are going to learn the syllabus, the textbook from a teacher. Think of it like that. From this day onwards, it's going to be you. It's your self study එක විතරයි ඔයගලන්ට ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ. Your self studying is what is coming in the future. අද තමයි අන්තිම වතාවට textbook එක you are going to be following with a teacher. Okay. So take out your textbook. If you have the PDF, open it as well. But I'm going to open the PDF in my screen as well. So don't worry too much. The PDFs are available in the Zoom chat and in the groups. Okay. And if you have any doubts, send messages to the Zoom chat as a public message. Okay. Okay. So I thought of starting with the reproduction part because if you take the past papers, the weight of questions from these parts and also මම O-level ළමයි කීප දෙනෙක්ගෙන් කතා කරලා ඇහුවා මොනවාද seminar එකේ cover වෙන්න ඕන කියලා, right? I did a small research. What are the most difficult? මොනවාද කිව්වේ? Grade 10 වලින් නම් it's reproduction, particularly the female reproductive system, then the genetics part. When it comes to grade 11, it's the body systems and also biosphere මතක තියාගන්න අමාරුයි කිව්වා. So that's what my focus is going to be on the second seminar, right? I'll try my best to do another seminar, but let's see. Okay, so Taggala, right? Taggala, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to start with the introduction to reproduction. Okay, so this is the tute that you have, right? I'll introduce the tute. There are some blank spaces, right? Blank spaces, right? That is for you to fill, right? That is for you to fill. There are blank spaces. That is for you to use as a workbook. Okay, fill in the blanks while you are listening or while you are watching the recording. You are allowed to watch the recording, right? Other session you can watch the recording and get into your sort of, if you didn't understand anything or if you missed anything, you can watch the recording. So I have included some diagrams, right? Some diagrams so that it's easy for me to explain and it's ඔයගලගේ textbook එකම ඔයගලන්ට ආපහු දීලා වැඩක් නැහැ. There's no use in giving your exact textbook back to you. So that's why I try to include a large, let's say comparatively high number of diagrams. Okay. So this is the reproduction tube. You might have gone through it a bit, right? Come up there, right? Because I'm going to cover this whole section. Okay. And so this is the reproduction tube. I'm not going to, right? So then afterwards, we'll start on the inheritance, the genetics, right? I'm going to nicely explain to you the Mendelian genetics and also right with some nice diagrams. I'm going to explain the Mendelian genetics and also some of the difficult concepts such as these gene linkage and also sex determination and yeah, and some of the inherited disorders, sex linked disorders, blah blah ඔය ටික අපි ඔක්කොම ටික කරමු. Okay, and afterwards I'm going to discuss some of the most recent past paper questions. එතනින් අපි වැඩේ ඉවර කරමු. Okay, right. ටක් ගාලා එන්න reproduction. Quickly come to the reproduction tube. Okay. So in your textbooks, right? In your textbooks, මම මෙහෙමයි A level classes teach කරන්නේ, right? So I'm going to use the same method. ඔයගොල්ලෝ O level කියලා issue එකක් නැහැ. What I use is ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ A levels වලටත් there's a textbook called the biology resource book, and I give my own tute, right? So my students are supposed to, while they are going through the textbook, they are supposed to work on the tute. එහෙමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් A level class එකක උනත් how I do my teaching, right? Okay, ටක් ගාලා එන reproduction in your textbook, grade 10 textbook එක ගන්න, right? Grade 10 textbook. Okay, grade 10 textbook, page number 27. Okay, grade 10, page number 27. Any issues? No, neither. All of you can clearly hear and see.
Yes, sir.
Right. So reproduction, what is the definition? Maybe definitions are really important, right? So basically, process that gives rise to a new generation. Process gives rise to a new generation from an existing generation, right? This existing generation, what do we call? අපි එකට කියනවා parental generation එක, right? We call it the parental generation, right? Parents. And who is the new offspring? I mean, right? What is the new generation called? We call them offspring. හරිද? Offspring කියලා කියන්නේ, right? So parents are producing offspring. That is how reproduction works, right? If you take characteristics of living organisms, ඔගොල්ලෝ කවුරු හරි අහුවොත් ඔගොල්ලෝ define කරන්න what a living organism, there are some words that we use. What are the things done by only living organisms? They grow, they develop, they reproduce, they adapt. Okay, they have metabolism, reactions happening inside. One of the most defining features of a living organism is reproduction, right? Life must go on, right? Life එක ඉස්සරහට යන්න ඕන. So to do that, in the living world, you have two ways. Let's Tagala focus on the asexual reproduction, right? So reproduction occurs by spores or vegetative parts of a mature organism. Mature organism, this is the parent, right? So spores or vegetative parts. These mainly refer to mainly plants, produce spores, and also fungus. Fungi produce spores. Okay. Then vegetative parts can be seen in animals and also plants. Asexually reproducing animals. Okay. So, can anyone tell me in asexual reproduction what is the cell division? What is the cell division? The මෙතන කියනවා meiosis does not occur. Can anyone tell me then මොකක්ද වෙන cell division? What is the cell division happening in asexual reproduction? If it
Mitosis.
is not meiosis, then what is it?
Mitosis.
Yes, it's mitosis. Right? So it's mitosis happening. Okay. So mitosis happening means what is mitosis? It's exactly photocopying. Yeah, photocopy එකක් ගහනවා. Okay. කෙලින්ම no changes allowed. ඔයගොල්ලෝ photocopy එකක් ගහන දුන්නා මෙයා වෙන මොකක් හරි දෙනවා නම් that's not exactly copying. So mitosis doesn't allow anything else to happen. එහෙම වෙනවා නම් mitosis වල there is something additional happening, then there's something wrong with the mitosis. ඒ වගේ වෙලාවට තමයි අපිට එන්නේ mutations කියලා. mitosis වැරදුනොත් we can get mutations. නිකන් X-Men ලා වගේ අය නෙමෙයි, right? අපි mutants ලා කිව්වට X-Men, right? But mutations එනවා when the mitosis goes wrong. So they are more or less like the maternal organism. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් asexual reproduction උනත් we usually call the parent amma කියලා, maternal, mother. There is no production of gametes. What are the two types of gametes that you have? If it's a sexually reproducing organism, right? If it's a sexually reproducing organism, මේ පැත්තේ වගේ. What are the two types of gametes? You have usually eggs. අපි කියනවා ඕවා කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් sperms. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් බිත්තරේ egg එක, it's usually bigger. The egg is usually bigger and the sperm is usually smaller and usually is able to move, is motile. ඔය තමයි gametes. මේවා හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? Gametes are not produced in asexual reproduction. ටක් ගාලා මේවා දැම්ම ඔලුවට දාගන්න. Right? New species are not produced because why? It's a photocopy. It's a photocopy. You can't do anything new. You can't do anything new. Large number of offspring can be produced. Yes, again, it's a photocopy. Right? You can print a large number of copies. Right? In a small amount of time. පට පට ගාලා හදන්න පුළුවන්. Right? See new primitive plants and animals? Yes. Because you will see, අපිට new species ඕනේ. We need changes. We need changes. අපිට changes ඕනේ. Otherwise, you can't progress as a species. Right? ටක් ගාලා jump to sexual reproduction. There are two partners involved. Who are the two partners? There's a male and a female. They produce gametes. They combine. Okay? The male and female gametes combine and results in a one cell. That one cell is called what? The first cell. We are going to talk about that in human development. Right? Zygote. Zygote is going to divide, 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 and give rise to a big new organism. Structures that are adapted for sexual reproduction can be found in evolutionary advanced organisms. These are called what? Yeah, sex organs. Yeah. Sex organs. Right? What are the organs adapted for sexual reproduction? Those are sex organs. In plants, the structure that is especially formed for sexual reproduction is called what? Yes. Galakian. What is the plant? I mean, what is the flower? So, what is the structure in plants that is specified or specialized for sexual reproduction? Galakian. Ah, yes. Flower. Right? Flower. Right? In animals, there are male and female reproductive organs. Contribute two organisms which are referred to as, right? Combined. You are the product of a sexual reproduction. So, who are the people that were involved? Who are the people that were involved? Yes, there was the mother. Two organisms that are referred to as maternal and paternal. Okay, gives rise to offspring which are mixed characters, right? ඔගලන්ගේ තාත්තගෙන හය ආවා, අම්මගේ height එක ආවා, එහෙනම් කොටයි ටික, right? අම්මගේ skin tone එක ආවා, right? Skin tone. So you are a mixed product of your mother and father. Gametes are produced by meiosis, very, very important. Okay. New species with better adaptation to the environment is produced, right? So with sexual reproduction, there is opportunity for the species to progress. නිකන් updates එනවා වගේ, right? It's like updates coming to a new phone, right? So improvements to survive better, better adaptation. Increase in the number of offspring is slow because මේකට ගේමක් දෙන්න ඕනේ, right? It's difficult to do sexual reproduction. It's difficult. What's the first thing that you need to have to do sexual reproduction? You need to have two organisms. දෙන්නෙක් You need to have a partner, right? So that's very difficult. Look at the human population, right? It's very difficult to do sexual reproduction. It's very difficult to do sexual reproduction, right? I won't go any further with that. Taggala, these are right. These are can be questioned in the structured essay paper. Taggala, they can ask you to compare asexual and sexual reproduction, right? So we are jumping to the reproduction of man because api fresh innakota I need to cover this, right? While we are fresh, I need to cover the human reproduction part. Okay. So in your textbook, right? In your textbooks, come to page number here. You should know this better. Okay. Reproduction of man, page number 47. Okay. So always while you are in this seminar, mataka tiyagana, this is the last time you are learning this with a teacher. Okay. Before the exam, probably. Okay. Otherwise, from this day onwards, it's your self studying. තනියෙන් පාඩම් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ මේ ඊටු දවස් ටිකේ. Right? අද තමයි අන්තිම වතාවට මේ ටික teacher කෙනෙක් එක්ක follow කරන්න. Okay. Right? So do it properly. Before we do reproduction, we need to mature. Right? අපේ equipment ටික we need to upgrade. Right? We were born with, let's say, smaller primitive versions, locked versions of the equipment, but you have to upgrade them, modify them, develop them, make them bigger if you want to sexually reproduce. So that happens during a stage of your life. That means that you are transitioning from a child to the adult. Okay, that happens in the adolescence. Right? What is the definition? Sexual maturity or attaining adolescence, it is the puberty. That's the definition of puberty. Okay. Attaining the sexual maturity is called as attaining puberty, right? Puberty. So, how do we know that someone is ready to do sexual reproduction? How do we know a human, male or a female, is ready to do sexual reproduction? How do we know? It's by looking at certain features, right? They are called secondary sexual characters. So, we can see that that baby is either male or female killer. You can understand roughly, right? By what? By the small sexual organs. So those are primary sexual characteristics, right? Chuti babala. There's nothing much else different other than they're sort of external genitals, right? Difference. But once you are in the puberty, right, you are in the adolescent age, there can be some nice differences between male and female, right? Samaneng girls la, right? If you come to the female side, usually girls attain puberty earlier. කොල්ලොන්ට කලින් puberty එක එනවා. මතකද නිකන් grade 7 වල class යනකොට එහෙම the girls are much taller. කොල්ලොන්ට මතකද? කෙල්ලෝ ටික උසයි නේද ඒ කාලේ grade 7 6 8 even 8 වගේ වෙනකොට මූණේ රැවුලවත් නැහැ කොල්ලොන්ගේ, but the girls are taller නේ. So that's because see girls start to achieve puberty by 10, කොල්ලොන්ට 13 විතර වෙනවා. Right? Average, average. Right, focus on the males, boys first. What is the hormone responsible, Taggalakian? What is the hormone, main hormone responsible to convert a child to a man? Na? Testosterone, right? Testosterone, which is only one. Na? There are so many other hormones, but the main one is testosterone. Okay. What are the changes that you can see? I'll just show you this diagram. Right, it's in your tubes. This is a comparison of how, with different ages, the external appearances change, right? How the external genitalia change, how the pubic hair grow when there are patterns, right? If you take a male, something additional, right? If you take a male, ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ hair වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම ටිකක්, right? අපි කියනවා මෙහෙම triangle එකකට හැදෙන්නේ කියලා. Sorry. The hair grows like this, If you take a girl, the hair grows like this, pubic hair, right? එහෙම pattern එකක් තියෙනවා. Okay. So the external genital size increases in females. What can you see? The hips මේ බලන්න මේ චූටි girls like hips are almost similar to boys. But with time the hips start to get wider, no? Why is that? Why is that? Because it's easier to bear the pregnancy. බබෙක් pelvis එක ඇතුලේ බබෙක්ව තියාගෙන ඉන්න lazy with a wide, yes, very good, to bear the baby. Then mammary glands start to develop, right? Mammary glands start to develop, right, with age. Okay. අපිට මෙහෙමයි. අපි දැන් if අපිට එනවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් parents ලා to the clinic, right? Parents ලා එනවා බබාට තාම හරියට puberty එක achieve වෙලා නැහැ. මෙච්චර වයසක් තියෙනවා. මෙච්චර වයස වෙලත් තාම මෙහෙම changes ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ. They didn't get the first period like that. So when you are examining, we can give a stage of puberty. එයා ඒ වයසට ගැලපෙන stage එකේදී ඉන්නේ. If that child is in the proper, in which stage of puberty, we can give a sort of a grade by looking at observing these changes. Boys ලගේ නම් mainly external genitals බලලා තමයි කියන්න පුළුවන්. Girls ලගේ there are other signs. Right? ටක් ගාලා එන්න කොල්ලොන්ගේ පැත්තට ආපහු, right? කොල්ලොන්ගේ hair is going to come on almost everywhere. Right? Face, chest, under armpits, genital areas, of course. Shoulders become wider, right? Shoulders become wider. අර V shape එක එනවා මෙහෙම, right? Upper body is wider. Larynx enlarges. What is the larynx? Larynx is the upper part of your respiratory system, upper part. Nose, pharynx, then you have the larynx. දෙතන ඉඳලා තමයි මෙහෙම trachea, windpipe එක පල්ලෙහාට යන්නේ. Okay? So larynx is where you have your vocal cords. Okay? If you want, you can write down larynx. In the larynx, you have your vocal cords. Okay? Therefore, these vocal cords actually become thicker. මෙහෙම vocal cords ටික thick වෙනවා. So when air vibrates against those vocal cords, the voice sound produced is deeper. Bones and muscle grow faster and the growth is accelerated. ටක් ගාලා උස යනවා, right? Genitals start to grow larger, obviously. ටක් ගාලා එන්න female side එකට, right? Let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay? Let me know if I'm going too fast. Females, we have two main hormones, but actually estrogen is the main responsible hormone. අපි උනත් ටක් ගාලා ලියා ගන්න. Estrogen, progesterone are the hormones responsible, right? Pubertal hair, mainly girls lage nang it's in the armpits and the genital areas. Okay, pubic region widens, as I told you, the pelvis palal වෙනවා. Mammary glands start to grow. We don't, right? Mammary glands කියන එක චරම හරිය නෑ. Breast එක තමයි ලොකු වෙන්නේ, right? But inside the breast you have mammary glands, but also the breast gets bigger because of some fat deposition, fats. Fat deposit වෙනවා මේ තින්. In the hypodermis. Hypodermis means below the skin, below skin. එහෙම body becomes fat කියන එක ටිකක් නිකන් rude වගේ නේ, නිකන් කෙල්ල මහත් වෙනවා කියලාද කියන්නේ? Yeah, I mean, anyway, females have more body fat than males. On average, females ලගේ body fat වැඩි, but එහෙම fat වෙනවා කියලා කියන්න බෑ. Okay. Bones and muscles. This is similar. කොල්ලොන්ටයි කෙල්ලොන්ටයි bones and muscles grow fast කියන එක දෙකම වෙනවා, right? නිකන් උදේ වෙනකොට උස ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා අංගල් දෙක තුනක්. Starting of releasing of ova from ovaries, menstruation starts, right? First bleeding එකෙන් වැඩි පටන් ගන්නවා, right? So this is secondary sexual characteristics of male and female. ටක් ගාලා ආයි කියන්න, right? මේ අහනවා, right? In the boys, it's a bit late, 13 to 16 years. In the girls, it's 10 to 14 years. Testosterone for males, estrogen, progesterone for the girls. For boys, the hair growth is actually greater, face, chest, additionally hambino, right? Voice becomes deep, shoulders become wide. right? Testes start to produce sperms. Right? Testes. So ovaries are the female gonads, and testes are the male gonads. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. ටිකක් ගාලා යමු ඉස්සරහට. You can clearly see the board and everything. Yes. ටිකක් ගාලා reply එකක් දෙන්න. Okay. Okay. Moving on. ටිකක් ගාලා එන්න male reproductive system එකට. Okay. ටිකක් ගාලා එන්න male reproductive system එකට. I'll use my software a little bit to show you bit of a 3D idea, right? අපි පොඩි වැඩක් කරමු. Right? It's important that you have a nice 3D idea before we go. So you might remember this from my yesterday video. Okay. Right. අපි ටක් ගාලා male reproductive system එකට එමු. Okay. So අපි හැම ගහමු හැම ගලවමු. Right. Let's remove the skin. Right. If you remove the skin, you will be able to see nicely the male reproductive system. Okay. It's a very simple system. Huh? The male reproductive system is very simple. Right. Because why? It's designed to do only two things. So actually, the male reproductive system is very closely associated with the urinary system. We know urogenital system. Okay. So actually, the male reproductive organs, male sex organs, are specialized to do only two things. What? To produce sperm. I mean, yes, to produce sperm, to release sperm, and that's the same thing, and also to pass urine. With the කරන්න specialized okay, nothing else. Right? That's why it's very simple. Huh? Very simple. We මෙතනත් skin එක අයින් කරමු. Right? So, right, these are the bones in the sort of that pelvic area. Okay. I bones ටිකත් අයින් කරමු. Let's remove the bones as well. Then we are left with just the male reproductive system. Okay. අපි මේ විදිහට තියෙන මේ coverings ටිකත් we can remove some of these coverings. Then we are able to see the main, let's say, pradhana charite, the main role of the male reproductive system, not the penis, this one, the testis. Okay, testis. Testis is the main role where sperms are produced and where testosterone is produced. Testis, this is the testis where the sperms and the testosterone is produced. So sperms are produced in the testis. You can see the cross section of the testis where you have the testicular lobules. I'll explain lobules of the testis, and inside you have the seminiferous tubules, right? On the tightly packed coil of seminiferous tubules, that's where the sperms are born, right? Sperms ඉපදෙන්නේ in those seminiferous tubules, and the sperms go into this epididymis. Epididymis. So I like to call epididymis is like a training camp and a hostel for the sperms. Sperms mature. Sperms mature in the epididymis, and also the sperms are stored in the epididymis. Then from the epididymis, there's a tube called the vas deferens. That is this tube, blue color may and on the right. That blue color tube, vas deferens, that is going to transport the sperm. How do we look? What is this big structure? This is big structure. Anyone? This big structure. I'll make it blue. Yes. Kaudanne. Who is this big structure?
Prostate gland.
Yeah, it's the bladder, right? Bladder එක. So as I told you, the male reproductive system is designed to urinate and produce sperm. Okay, right? So we'll keep the bladder home. Then there are some other additional. So may තියෙන්නේ from so some of the bones are remaining. Okay, remove the. So the bladder receives what? Urine from where? The kidneys. Okay, bladder receives urine from the two kidneys. What are these two tubes that are bringing urine? Anyone?
Ureters.
These are called ureters, right? Ureters. Ureters bring urine to the bladder, and the bladder stores the urine. Okay. Then we have in the male reproductive system, there are some accessory glands. We call them accessory glands that are necessary for the sperms to survive. Right? The sperms නිකන් එළියට ඔහොම release කළා. By just releasing the sperm to the outside, we can't expect them to survive. They are not going to survive. They need some nutrition and they need a transport medium. The transport medium is going to be produced by some glands. First one is here, that is called the, yes, seminal vesicle. There are two seminal vesicles. This one, this is the other seminal vesicles. Okay, may tadi apple ගෙඩියක් වගේ. This big structure is called what? That is your prostate gland. Purastha granthia in single, prostate gland, right? So the prostate gland is this, and prostate gland cross. Yeah, let's keep the prostate gland for now. So then we have the beginning of the or the base of the penis, right? Penis එක මේ විදිහට පටන් ගන්නවා, right? So penis goes like this and opens to the outside here. So what is the tube that is running through the penis? Penis එක මැදින් යන tube එක මොකක්ද? What is the tube that is running through the penis? To see that tube, we need to take some nice cross section. So let's take a look inside the prostate. Let's cut the prostate gland and take a look inside. Right. Let's cut the bladder also. Right. On bar. So this is the interior of the bladder. This is the interior of the bladder. This is the interior of the bladder. So who is this coming out of the bladder? Who is this coming out of the bladder? There is the final part, or let's say final pathway for the urine to go out of the body. Urine ටික එළියට දාන්නේ through this tube, that is called the urethra. Urethra, right? එතකොට urethra එක prostate එක මැද ඉන්නකොට අපි යාට කියනවා prostatic urethra. We call it prostatic urethra. We don't need those, right? Just this is the urethra. Now you can see the urethra is entering into the penis. Urethra is entering into the penis. මෙතන චූටි දෙන්නෙක් ඉන්නවා. Who are these චූටි two people? We call them Cooper's glands. Cooper's or bulbourethral glands. Cooper's glands or bulbourethral glands. Right? So the seminal vesicles add some secretions. අපි අර හොඳට නිකන් අර සුප් එකක් හදනවා වගේ හොඳට semen හදන්න seminal vesicles add some secretions. Then the prostate gland add some secretions. Then these bulbourethral or Cooper's glands add some secretions. ඊළඟට all of them are going to go inside the penis. So this is the penis. I have removed the part of the penis. This is the urethra, right? May blue color urethra. That is going to take what? Sperm or urine. දෙකෙන් එකක්, right? Sperm and urine come out of the same opening. එකම opening එකෙන් තමයි sperm and urine coming out. Okay? Urethra. Same opening. All clear? So if you are interested, I'll add some of the other systems, right? අපිට මොනවද මෙතෙන්ට තව ඕනේ? I'll add the rest of the digestive I can add the digestive system to this, right? If I add the digestive system, make out the this is the anus, right? This is the anus. පිටිපස්සෙන් බලන්න පුළුවන්. Opening එක anus, right? Then some of the digestive system also there, but I'll be doing the systems. I'll be doing systems next week. Maybe there digestive system එක තියෙනවා. This is the small intestine. On the two sides, you have the large intestine. Okay. Stomach එක තියෙනවා. Then you have the esophagus. Right. Okay. Clear about the male reproductive system. 3D idea එකක් ආව නේද? 3D idea එකක් ආව නේද? Okay. Right. Activities of the male reproductive system. Activities of the male reproductive system. Most importantly, it has to produce the sperm. Sperm is the vehicle. Sperm is the vehicle that takes your father's information to you to make you. Production of sperm. Ejection of sperm into the male reproductive system. The sperm, right? Sperm plus secretions from these glands together is called what? Semen. Not semen, na. මුහුදු වෙන sailors නෙවෙයි semen, na. Semen. කියලා liquid එකක් හදනවා. You produce a fluid that will be pushed, sprayed into the female reproductive system and also the production of testosterone, which makes men na පිරිමි විදියට තියෙන testosterone. Okay. Right. So how is sperm produced? How is sperm produced? If I draw a testis like this, if I draw a testis like this, testis එකට මෙහෙම cap එකක් දාලා වගේ you have the epididymis. It's like a testis being given a cap. This is the epididymis, right? Then inside this testis, you have some sort of segments like this. Sorry. My testis went away. Okay, I'll start again. This is your testis, right? There's a cap given to the testis, which is the epididymis. Inside the testis, you can divide the testis into several segments that are called as kiana. Testicular lobules. Testis can be divided into testicular lobules. Inside these lobules, you have මෙහෙම very tightly packed, very long tube. Very tightly packed, very long tube. That is called what? Seminiferous tubule. Right? Seminiferous tubule. So this is what it's going to look like. So seminiferous tubule එක අපි මෙහෙම zoom කරලා ගත්තොත් it's a tube like this, seminiferous tubule. If we look at the seminiferous tubule like this is what it's going to look like. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. So this is the wall of the seminiferous tubule. This is the wall of the seminiferous tubule. And if you take sperm, sperms are produced at the center. Sperms are found at the center, but sperms start their life in the corners. So this is the grandfather of a sperm. Then this is the father of a sperm, and homogil you get the sperms at the end. So the sperms begin their life as these cells. Later they become this nicely arnica tadpoles lavage. They become the sperm gradually. Okay, they start their life at the corner of the seminiferous tubule and they undergo some changes to become the sperm. Okay, so that there's a diagram in your textbook as well. Right. Sperms are formed, right? We are on page number 49 na, in the textbook. Okay, science textbook. We are on page number 49. Okay, I'll tell you what the app is. Okay, if you come to medicine, right? The O levels ut kalla, A level ut kalla, medicine ut tawot me app එක දාගන්න අනිවාර්යෙන්. Right? It helped me in my first year. First year anatomy වලට you need this in our sort of in our seniors time they used uh, books. Now we have software. Okay? To do anything we have software. Okay? Sperms are formed from what? Sperm mother cells, right? Sperm mother cells. එතකොට කවුද sperm mother cells? These. These are the mothers. So can anyone tell me these mothers are undergoing a cell division, a type of cell division when they are producing sperm? What is the cell division these mother cells are undergoing? If you want to produce a sperm, meiosis. Yeah. Meiosis. Meiosis cell division kalla, you produce a sperm. Sperm mother cells are in the seminiferous tubules. Sperms are temporarily stored in where? Within the training camp. The training camp for the sperm, and from one end of the training camp, sperms are sent. Training ඉවරනාට පස්සේ the sperms are sent out. Okay. Sperms are temporarily stored where? ටක් ගාලා කියන්න. Right? FPD.
Dymis.
Dymis. So after the seminar is over, or if you can do it even right now, you can fill in the blanks in the tube. During the copulation, what is copulation? The sexual intercourse. Huh? Okay. During copulation, sperm pass through what? This tube, may black color. That is the sperm delivery tube. Vas difference. Huh? During copulation, sperm pass through the vas. Chaminda vas, okay, vas difference, and collected to the urethra. At the same time, the secretions of right, prostate gland and Cooper's gland. Prostate and මේ ඔක්කොම add වෙනවා. At the same time, secretion of seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicles මතකයි නේද? Seminal vesicle, prostate and Cooper. All three glands produce secretions. The secretion mixed with sperm is called what? Nice soup එකක් වගේ, right? Semen, no? Semen. There are how many sperms in 1 milliliter? You don't need the exact count, right? You say there are millions කියලා තමයි in your syllabus තියෙන්නේ. Right? In a healthy male, there can be about 4 to 5 million. No? Then අපි කියනවා දැන් after a married couple have been trying to have a baby for more than 2 years, for more than 2 years with proper, right, with proper technique and with the proper timing of the female reproductive system. If a couple has been trying to have a baby for 2 years and not successful, අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් that is subfertile කියලා. Subfertility එකක් තියෙනවා in that couple. We don't know male the female ද කියලා. Skill issue එක අයින් කරමුකෝ, right? There is no skill issue, everything else, right? Now there is something wrong with the machinery, right? Then you come to a doctor, probably a gynecologist, right? Female doctor, gynecologist කෙනෙක් ගාවට යන්න. Because why? We assume it's always the female. We always assume it's the female. But Almost 40% to 50% of the time, it's the males. Okay. Okay. And what the first thing we do is the first thing a gynecologist is going to do is to going to take a sperm sample, semen sample from the man, husband Gingandi. Then we are going to analyze that semen. First thing that we are going to see is the sperm count. How many sperms are there in a milliliter? Okay. Then what? So if the sperm count is low, there is one reason to be not have children. Then another reason is what? So there's a sperm. This is a very let's say නිකන් sci-fi sperm connect, right? It's a very science sci-fi sperm, right? Sperms. Then we look under the microscope at the semen sample to see if it's close to whatever this is. This is the proper shape. No? There can be sperms having a shooty flagella, right? Shooty tail එකක් තියෙන sperms තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. Some sperms have two heads. මෙහෙම. Some sperms have a flagella that is මෙහෙම coil වෙච්ච. I'm not joking, okay? There can be different morphology, right, of sperm. So if sperms are abnormal, then එතනින්ම ටක් ගාලා you can find out if it's the man's fault. If not, then you are going to do a scan of the female ultrasound. Then other tests are done to see what's the issue with the couple, lah, right? Okay, right. Why are testes located outside the body? Kianba, why are testes located outside the body? Testes are found
Lower temp
outside the body, the body of the male, right? Why is that?
lower
Because
temperature.
the sperm production is a very sensitive process, the meiosis process. But more than that, in the epididymis, when the sperm is becoming mature, it requires very specific conditions to be the proper sperm, to be the proper sperm, right? To be the proper sperm, right? If those conditions are not properly there, the sperm will be abnormal or even dead, right? So that's why sperms should be produced outside the body. So your body temperature is what, Kianba? What is your body temperature if you don't have a fever? 37 to 38 again. This is too much. Sperms should be close to the room temperature. Otherwise, they can be abnormal. So very sensitive to temperature. So the temperature of the testes should be lower than the body for the production of healthy sperms. For the production of healthy sperms. These can be questions. Structure essay paper. They can ask you why are testes located outside the body. So the testes are in a skin sac called the scrotum. In a skin sac called the scrotum. Sac එක දාලා එළිය තියලා තියෙන්නේ. Okay. Right. If there's no other question, yes. ටක් ගාලා label කරන්න this sperm. ටක් ගාලා label කරන්න this sperm. You don't need this many labels, right? Quickly label this sperm. What are the parts of this sperm? You have this C කියලා කියන්නේ head. B, there's a neck also. A කියලා කියන්නේ neck of the sperm. B කියලා කියන්නේ body of the sperm. Then there's the very long tail. Right? Quickly label it. Moving on to the female reproductive system. Any questions do you have? Do you have any questions? Right? Keep in mind the male reproductive system. Nothing much to do. Okay. What is scrotum? There's a question. Scrotum is composed of skin fold that is like let's say a bag for the testes. I'll show it when I'm with the software again, right? Okay, female reproductive system. So I have to explain these structures in detail because I think I yesterday I showed you this, right? Anyone, hands up, anyone who didn't watch the recording in the group? Group එකේ දාපු recording එක බැලුවේ නැත්te කවුද? Come up. Okay. Right, I know. Right? Group එකේ හිරියට බලන්න. It's fine. Okay. Let's take a tour of the female reproductive system again. Nah? Let's take a tour of the female reproductive system again. I'll show you the scrotum first then. Right? So if you take a look at this, this is the scrotum. Which is the scrotum? What is the scrotum? This is the male sort of body with the skin. Nah? So this is the scrotum. I think I didn't mention, right? Naturally, we have a covering over the tip of the penis. Tip of the penis එකට මෙහෙම cover එකක් තියෙනවා, right? That is called the foreskin. Foreskin කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා මේ වගේ. Right? There's a covering, right? Sometimes in different cultures that foreskin is surgically removed, right? Surgically removed to expose this outer part that is called the glans. Glans, it's very sensitive. The glans penis, very sensitive. Okay, clear ned? You can see there are two scrotums. I mean, scrotal sacs, right? There's only one scrotum, but it's divided into two for the two testes. දෙකක් තියෙනවානේ. Clear? Right, come to the female. So, female reproductive system, if we go like this, right? The female reproductive system, මෙහෙමයි. There are very few, or you can say there are no external organs, right? There are no external structures. Okay, female reproductive system, there are almost no external structures. Everything is inside. The female reproductive system is specialized to do two things: to produce the egg, and also, most importantly, if that egg is fertilized, to nourish a future offspring, a baby. බබෙක්ව බලාගන්න adapted. Urinate කරන්න නෑ. Okay, males ලා වගේ එකම opening එකෙන් urinate කරන්න නෑ. I hope you know these things, right? If you zoom in to the openings of the female reproductive system, this is the urethra. Okay, this is the urethra. This is where the urine comes out. Okay, this is the vagina. This is the reproductive opening. This is the reproductive opening. This is the urethral opening. So there are two openings in the female, but in the male, it's the same opening. The urethra and the sperm comes out of the urethra. Okay, so let's see. I'll remove the skin and I'll remove the bones as well. Right, then you can clearly see the internal structures of the female reproductive system. Okay, some of these structures are not in your syllabus, so I'll remove. Okay, okay, now we can I'll go from outside to inside, right? So this is the opening of the female reproductive system to the outside. That is called the vulva, right? The vulval opening. This is it, right? This is a vulval opening. Okay, this opening is called the vulva. The vulva gives rise to the, right, that is the starting point of the muscular tube, that is called the vagina. Vagina, right? This acts as the birth canal. බබා උඩ ඉඳලා මෙහෙම එන්නෙත් එළියට, and sperms උඩට යන්නෙත් නැහැ. Sperms are released into the vagina. Okay. If I remove the vagina, you can see the connecting point of the vagina to the uterus. Right? Connecting point of the vagina to the uterus. Right? This is called the cervix. අපි සිංහලෙන් කියනවා ගැබ් ගෙල කියලා. ගැබ් ගෙල. uterus එකේ බෙල්ලවල. Right? It's called the cervix. Then we come to the uterus, which is like a muscular bag. It's like a muscular bag for the baby to grow. What are the three parts of the uterus? One is cervix. This is called the body of the cervix. Sorry, uterus. This is called the body of the uterus. මෙහෙම දෙපැත්තම තියෙනවා. Then there's this place called the fundus, where these two tubes connect to the uterus. What are the two tubes? අපි යාර politically ගොඩක් important දෙයක්, right? The fallopian tubes, right? The fallopian tubes. Okay, so the fallopian tubes are muscular tubes, and at the corner of them, near your ovary, you have this finger-like projections called fimbria. Fimbria. Okay, we'll talk about the functions of fimbria soon. Okay, okay, right. Then there's a ovary. This is the ovary, which is the female gonad. අපිට මෙහෙම cross section එකක් බලන්න පුළුවන් of the ovary, right? I'll explain the structure of the ovary. So this is the female reproductive system in its basic nature, right? If I take a cross section like this, මෙහෙම ටිකක් බැලුවම එකපාරටම නිකන් very complicated, right? But it's actually very simple, right? This is the bladder. This is the urethra. This is the urine pathway. This is the urethra. This is the uterus. This is the vagina. This is your, let's say, the last part of the large intestine. This is the rectum. This is the anus. Ovaries, fallopian tubes. Okay, simple, no? Female reproductive system, very simple. But functioning වලට ආවම very very complicated. Okay, functioning, the male reproductive system function wise very simple, but let's say structurally ටිකක් complicated. But the female is very structurally kind of simple, but functionally මාරම complicated. Okay, that's how it is. Females, you can never understand how they function, right? Okay, right, come to your tute. Right, ටක් ගාලා මේක label කරන්න. ටක් ගාලා do the labeling. Things you need to know in this diagram. I think you need to be able to label. This is fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. This is a ovary. Ovary. If you have any connection issues, don't worry. You can always watch the recording, but I prefer you join the live class, right? And people who are in the live class, you can share the Zoom link. Bladder. This is the bladder, urine bag. Okay, bladder. Label with me if you are able to, right? This is the vagina, where the baby is coming out and also the sperm is released. The penis is put here, right? Penis centimeter. Okay. Vagina. And this is what? This opening of the vagina to the outside is called the vulva. ඔය ටික තමයි. Yes, sorry. This is the urine pathway from the bladder, that is called the can. Urethra. Quickly label, okay? Can I pin my screen when other people are speaking? Does my screen go away? එහෙම එකක් වෙනවද? Something happen like that. I am pinned. Am I not? I am pinned. Okay, how about now? I am the spotlight now. Okay, right. Better? Ah, okay, nice. Right. There's a question. If the male releases urine, if the male releases urine, where is it? There was a question. What about E part? E. E part in male reproductive system, E. Where do you have E? Here? Ah, this in the sperm there. Is that your question? These are actually mitochondria. Okay? These are actually mitochondria. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දැනගන්න ඕන නම්, right? These are actually mitochondria because why? The flagella, the sperm has to swim. පීනගෙන යන්නේ, right? This mitochondria produces energy for the sperm to swim. These are like engines. Mitochondria engines වගේ. Okay, these are like engines. Yeah, sure. Send a message, okay, to my class coordinator 070-788-6624. Right? Send a message to her, the class coordinator. She will add you and send you all the recordings. Right? Don't worry. Okay. Send a WhatsApp message to this number. Okay, moving on. Right? Ovary, there are pair of ovaries close to the lateral walls of the pelvic area. Lateral means what? Depatta, to the closer to the sides in the abdominal cavity. In a cross section of the ovary, there are two zones, right? Two zones you can see in this diagram also, right? This part, medical එළිය තියෙන එක, right? This outer part, you can call it as the cortex, outer cortex. Okay. Then this inner part, you can see it has the blood vessels and also some nerves. The inner part is called the medulla, right? Outer cortex and inner medulla. Okay. So Taggaliana, there are two zones known as cortex, medulla, who are producing can. Ova are producing what we call as follicles. A follicle is nice arrangement. A follicle is a nice arrangement. It's like this. You can see one follicle here. So a follicle is like a superstar. නිකන් මෙහෙමයි. So if you take a follicle, there's a main role in the center that is going to be a future egg. There's a future egg. And surrounding its future egg, you have so many supporting cells. A future egg and surrounded by supporting cells. So this is a follicle. Right? If you take like a superstar කෙනෙක් වගේ singer කෙනෙක් ගත්තොත්, following that superstar when she goes to concerts, there's like a supporting staff, right? So it's like this. This follicle has a cell that will become an egg in the future. So there are so many supportive cells that are there to protect, nourish, and do other things, right? So we say ova or eggs are produced in follicles, right? Simple. Huh? So the cortex contains these follicles. Then on I right. So you can see there are several stages of follicles. Right? You can see several stages of follicles. You can see this is you can take it at the first stage and also almost second stage, third, and this is an important stage, right? Five and homogila, right? Do you think all these things are happening at the same time? මෙහෙම රවුමට යනවා කියලා. They are happening at the same time. But do you think it's like going in a cycle like this? What do you think? Do you think these follicles are going රවුමට මෙහෙම ovary එකේ වටේට මෙහෙම රවුමට යනවා කියලා? No. Right? If you take, imagine this is the first step of this process. This is the place where it becomes this big, then it will release the egg, and later it will become this and this and this. ඔක්කොම වෙන්නේ right here in the same place. Okay? It happens in the same place of the ovary, but we are drawing it in like a cycle like this because we need to show how they progress from one stage to the other. Right? නැතුව මෙහෙම the follicles are not going around in the ovary. Okay, I'm telling you this because when you come to A levels, we have to learn about this in much more detail. Okay, so this is the ovary. Taggala label this, right? So your follicles that contain the future egg, starts as a primary follicle. නිකන් අර superstar. Imagine it's they're in a dreams or whatever. This egg has just entered the competition, so it's only a primary follicle. Then it goes through some stages. ටිකක් SMS හම්බෙලා the singer goes through some stages, then he'll become a Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle කියලා නමක් දෙන්න. Then we can call this as the mature follicle, but you don't need it, right? This is the mature, right? Mature follicle එකක් විදිහට ඉන්නකොට when it becomes a mature follicle, the wall of the ovary. So this is the wall of the ovary. Yeah? This is the wall of the ovary. It will break. The wall of the ovary will break, and the egg will be released. The egg will be released to the outside. It is called what? We give this a special name. Kiana. What do you call release of an ovum? Ovulation. කට්ටිය නිදිමතද? No, right? Right. Online class වලට පුරුදු වෙනවා. Not to sleep. Okay. ඔයාලට සති දෙකයි දින නිදා ගන්න බෑ. Right. බය කරා. Ovulation. Then after ovulation, so the superstar has gone. What has happened? Then මෙතන වෙනකන් what happened? These supportive cells. I told you it has some supportive cells. They were training the superstar. They were giving him food and ඔක්කොම හොඳට බලාගෙන they took care of the superstar. But the superstar became superstar and left. Ovulation. What is going to happen? The remaining supporting cells are going to become a structure. It's a glandular structure. Okay. A gland එකක් වගේ. What do you mean by a gland? A gland can secrete. A gland secretes. මොනවාද secrete කරන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය? If you take this gland, they secrete hormones. Tell me the name. What is this? What is this gland? What is the name? Corpus luteum. Corpus luteum. Corpus luteum විදිහට he is going to remain for a few days, but these supportive cells are going to get tired, and finally it's going to become a scar. Scar එකක් වෙනවා. That is called corpus කියන්නේ. Corpus albicans. Corpus albicans. Right? If I tell again, what are the stages? You have primary follicle, Graafian follicle, mature follicle, ovulation happens. Then you have corpus luteum, corpus albicans. Okay. This is the structure of the ovary. But let me know if I'm going too fast. Huh? Let me know if I'm going too fast. Which part do you want me to explain again? Which part? Yes, I do physical classes. Okay. Class details I'll tell you later. Okay. I do physical classes. Right. Right, moving on. So ovary, yeah, we are still in the ovary. Production of ova starts at the birth of a female. Right. I'm not going to contradict this. So එහෙම පාඩම් කරගන්න. Okay. Because I'm being very careful not to teach you anything that is, I mean, even if it's incorrect, I'm not going to teach you the correct thing right now. It's not the time to teach you even the correct thing because then confused not confused exam එකට ගිහිල්ලා. So yes, production of ova starts at the birth. No. Okay. Anyway, fallopian tube. Ovum that comes out of the ovary enters into the long. කියන්න. It's muscular. Muscular. Why is it muscular? Because the egg has to be transported through the fallopian tube by the contraction of the fallopian tube. By the contraction of the fallopian. Uh, in the end of this tube, which is close to the ovary, is a funnel-like. It's funnel-like. So what do you mean by a funnel? It's expanded like this. But also it's expanded and also it has finger-like projections called fimbria. Fimbria. Kian. So these finger-like projections are called fimbria. These are important in transferring the ovum, right? So mehmai, so this ovum in ovulation will be released here. The egg will be released here. What it's going to do is the fallopian tube, it's going to use its fimbria and also muscular contractions to sort of suck this ovum into the fallopian tube. Uterus is a hollow structure, right? It's empty inside. There are three zones. Three zones. There's a fundus, body, and cervix. The two fallopian tubes are connected to the zone called the fundus. The other end of the uterus is the cervix. Right? I showed you with the software. Vagina or the endocervical canal. Vagina starts at the cervix and opens to the outside at the vulva. Vulva is the opening of the female reproductive system, right? So let's label this diagram Taggala. Let's quickly label this diagram. Ovary. So when you are thinking about, when you are labeling the ovary, think what are the two regions of the ovary? What are the two layers of the ovary? Make a label karanna. What are these? Fimbria. What is the function of fimbria? To collect the ovum. What is this? Fallopian tube, right? Fallopian tube. What do you call this part of the uterus where the fallopian tube connects? It's the fundus. This sort of the middle part is the body. Body of what? Uterus. This is the gabgella or cervix, which is the neck of the uterus where the cervix connects to the vagina. So this is the vagina or the endocervical canal. Vagina or the endocervical canal, right? Any questions? Aggalemo to the tricky part. Functions of the female reproductive system. Did we talk? Uh, yeah, no, we had earlier, right? Functions of the female reproductive system. Oh no, I think it's yeah, after the after menstrual cycle. Okay. Yeah, I think I added it after menstrual cycle. Yeah. Okay. Right. With Aggalemo to talk about the menstrual cycle. Mehmai, how do you understand the menstrual cycle? As the name says, I want you to refer this diagram, right? As the name says, menstrual cycle is a cycle. It happens again and again and again. The menstrual cycle happens again and again. While the female is alive, right? For the entire lifespan of the female. No. Female ජීවත් වෙලා ඉන්න කම්ම වෙනවද? No. Menstrual cycle takes place from puberty, not I mean puberty එකේ අපි කියනවා first bleeding or the menarche, puberty to there's something called menopause, right? At around age 45 to 50, the production of eggs by a female stops. So the menstrual cycle takes place within this time period. So if you let's say the female started the period at age 10 and got the menopause at 50. So for 40 years, there was a cycle happening on average. On average, that depends from female to female. Average 28 days. Every 28. This can change. There are females, the cycle happens every 2 weeks. There are females, the cycle happens every 6 weeks. Right? So this is the average. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් සති 4කට සැරයක්. Roughly around every 4 weeks, you have a full cycle. There are two places you can say the cycle takes place in relation to two locations. What are the two locations? Those two locations, that's how we divide the cycle into two parts, right? There are things that happen in the ovary. There are things that are happening in the yes uterus. Ovary එකේ වෙන දේවල් තියෙනවා, uterus එකේ වෙන දේවල් තියෙනවා. So it takes approximately 28 days. Okay. So I want you to understand first thing that I want you to understand. So there are two places. There's the ovary, there's the uterus involved in the menstrual cycle. I'm going to take time. I'm going to take time to explain the menstrual cycle, right? So the first thing I want you to know is the ovary is the leader. Ovary tamai lokka. Okay, ovary is the leader. Uterus is a servant. Or you can say uterus listens to the ovary. Yeah? Uterus listens to the ovary. Uterus does what the ovary tells it to do. Okay. That's the first thing you need to know. So, ovary, let's just focus on the ovary first. What's going to happen in the ovary is shown in these diagrams. This is the ovarian cycle, things that are happening in the ovary, right? So, you can see I told you this is the growing follicle. There's a superstar in here. This is the superstar that is going to become the egg, right? So, this is the part where the superstar is growing, superstar is released. Now, this is the supporting cells that are undergoing some changes. Okay. So that is called the ovarian cycle. Then what's going to happen in the uterus? Maybe in the uterine cycle. This. The uterus, as I told you, is listening to the ovary. Ovary, whatever the ovary tells the uterus to do, it's going to listen and follow. Right? What I want you to have an understanding is if there is a fertilization. What do you mean by a fertilization? That means, Mukadder, this this egg that was released meets a sperm. This egg that was released meets a sperm and a zygote. Results in a zygote. That is called fertilization. So the uterus is very hopeful. Memitan, their uterus is very hopeful. He thinks every time the ovary releases an egg, the female is going to get pregnant. Okay. He thinks, the uterus thinks, every time the ovary releases an egg, the female is going to get pregnant. Right? Very hopeful. That's why the uterus prepares. Uterus is like a house. Okay. So, uterus, he thinks there's going to be a baby. So, the uterus prepares to welcome that baby. Every time you have an egg, so metin always follow the lines. Huh? So, this dotted line is the point in the cycle where uh, the egg is released. So, this line is the point in the cycle where the egg is released. Okay, when you have ovulation. So he thinks there's going to be a fertilization here. He prepares the house. The uterus prepares to welcome a baby by growing thicker. Thick. The uterus becomes thick. It grows new blood vessels. It grows new glands. Right. It prepares to be pregnant. Uterus prepares to be pregnant. But the problem is almost every cycle there is no pregnancy. Samanyan, if you average female, average female usually have only one child or two children. So in these 50, I mean this 50 years, she might have only two children. So almost all cycles end with sad story. What is the sad story? There is no baby. So what the uterus prepared for has to be broken down. We say Elapu carpet ticker, the new bed sheets, everything has to be removed because there is no baby to welcome. Right? That is what we see as the menses or the bleeding. ඔය ටික තේරෙනවද නේද? So ටග්ගාලා එන්න. So that's what is happening physically. Right? Ovary is releasing an egg and the uterus is preparing to receive a baby, but there is no baby. So the uterus is breaking down the what he prepared. That is what's happening. Okay. So then we have to come to this sort of මේ tricky නිකන් නයි වගේ තියෙන how hormonal levels, different hormones control these two things, the ovary and the uterus. How are they regulated by different hormones? Right? Let's see. Right? Come to this filling the blanks place. Right? So on this side we have things happening in the ovary. Right? So first, what did we have? We have the phase where the follicle is developing. We are training the egg. We are training the egg or the superstar to be released. That is called where you have follicles, right? Follicle is getting mature, so it's called the follicular phase. Okay. Once the egg is released, I told you there's a gland-like thing that is forming that is called the corpus luteum. So when you have a corpus luteum, that time period is called luteal phase. Luteal phase. These are the two ovarian stages. So let's read. This is the initial phase under the influence of the FSH hormone secreted by the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is located in your brain, okay? Right? Pituitary gland is located in your brain. A primary follicle in the ovary develops to form a Graafian follicle. You know this, right? This is step number one. Then it becomes a Graafian follicle. Then it becomes a mature follicle. Then it gets ready to release an ovum. It takes about 14 days. During this phase, ovary secretes estrogen hormone. None. අපි බලමු දැන් පල්ලයට ගිහලා diagram එක. Let's see the diagram. What is the hormone that they are saying? Green color. Green color FSH. Right? So follow this. Can you see this green color FSH is promoting Meban. The FSH level is sort of increasing. So that is stimulating these follicles to grow. Right? Because the follicle is growing, there is secretion of estrogen, or you can say estradiol කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්. This estrogen hormone levels are increasing. Okay. So can you see? So this is what is this phase? If you take the ovary, this is the follicular phase. Neither. This is the follicular phase. So at the same time, what is happening in the uterus? So you can say it says the follicular phase. What is happening at the uterus is called again proliferative phase. When the ovary is doing the follicular phase, uterus is going through what we call as the proliferative phase. So let's read about the proliferative. Jump to the uterus. Uterus is going through proliferative phase. Sorry. Or you can say in your resource textbook it says proliferation, proliferation phase, proliferation. So this is the initial phase. Just ignore this first part, right? Wait. Hold on. Right. Small error, right? Right. Because this is how your textbook starts. That's how I made this tune. But I want you to understand that this follicular phase of the ovary is actually matching nicely with the what? Second phase, that is the proliferation. Actually, this thing also is happening, right? The first and the second things are actually happening at the same time as the follicular phase, right? At the same time as the follicular phase. Why do I say that? අපි බලමු diagram එක. When you have a doubt, just go and look at the diagram. Can you see? Even though I call this the proliferative phase, this part they say menses. මෙතනත් they say menses. That means what? There is bleeding, there is some breaking down of the uterus happening during the follicular phase. So actually, follicular phase of the ovary is combination of menstrual phase, where you have the bleeding, plus proliferative. We can during the follicular phase, you have both menstrual and proliferative happening in the uterus. Okay. So, අපි menstrual phase එකට පස්සේ මොකෝ, right? So, let's talk about the menstrual phase. That is this one later. Let's talk about it a bit later, right? So, what is happening in the proliferative phase? The walls start to rebuild because why? The uterus is very excited. I'm going to get a baby. Okay, so he starts to rebuild. අලුතෙන් bed sheet දානවා. Under what hormone? Estrogen. Can you see? Because the ovary was secreting estrogen. That estrogen is here. It's helping the uterus to build a new layer. New cell layer and blood capillaries grow. It takes about 10 days. Okay. Can you see? Then proliferative phase එක 10 days. Usually, if you ask any female, අහන්න යන්න එපා, ගුටි කන්න වෙයි, right? It's mentioned here, right? It is about 4 days. Proliferative phase is about 10 days. Menstrual phase is, so I'll label this. This is menstrual. Menstrual phase is about also, it's about 4 days. Now can you see? Follicular phase was 14. No? Follicular phase was 14 days. So, you can see follicular phase එක ඇතුලේ you have both menstruation and sorry, yes, follicular phase එක ඇතුලේ you have both menstrual and proliferation happening, right? Then let's come to back to the ovary and see what is happening in the luteal phase, right? So now the egg was released, ovulation happened. What do you have left? I mean, it bursts and the ovum is released and into the fallopian tube under the influence of there's a new hormone called this. There's a new hormone called the luteal hormone. We call it LH, luteal hormone. Luteal hormone is secreted by who? Same as FSH, pituitary. Pituitary gland. Okay. Same as FSH, pituitary gland. If fertilization does not occur, the ovum is passing forward through the fallopian tube, right? Then what? There is no baby, right? What is going to happen? That supportive cells of the follicle that were left behind changes to become Kian, corpus luteum. Not sleeping, right? Corpus luteum. Corpus luteum එක අන්තිමට is this is glandular. This is gland. Corpus luteum is like a gland, but it will become corpus albicans. Corpus albicans is like a scar. නිකන් තුවාලයක් කොඳ වෙච්ච තැනක් වගේ. It's like an old wound. Okay, so it will become a scar. A scar, corpus albicans, and fades off. Luteal phase also takes about 14 days. ගානට 14 you have 28 total days. During this phase, the ovary secretes progesterone. Okay, come to the diagram and see what is happening in the luteal phase. We start our luteal phase after ovulation, after the egg has, we start our luteal phase after ovulation. No? After ovulation, very, very important. We start our luteal phase after ovulation, right? So they say, why is ovulation happening? Because of luteinizing hormone. Can you see the luteinizing hormone? මෙහෙම එයා නිකන් shape එකේ the luteinizing hormone was at a lower level. නිකන් background එකේ වගේ ඉඳලා suddenly it increased rapidly, then it went goes down again. This rapid rise of the luteinizing hormone is going to do what? Ovulation. That is going to do ovulation. So if they ask you, what is the hormone responsible for ovulation? Who is it? Luteinizing hormone. Na? So they also say, during this time, who do you have? You have corpus luteum. Corpus luteum is going to do what? Ken? Corpus luteum is Satta Satta Gala secreting who? Progesterone. Can you see the purple color progesterone? Push. Very high. Right? Okay. So let's come to this. Now what is going to happen in the Ken? What is going to happen in the uterus? Uterus එකේ what we call as the secretory phase. Secretory කියන්නේ මේ කවුද? ලේකම්ද? No. අර secretary කෙනෙක් කියලා නෙවෙයි. Secretory means you are secreting something. You are releasing something. Secreting. Right? That's what's going to happen in the secretory phase. Secretory phase, let's read. This is the final phase. Uterine wall thickness, blood supply increase, glands are activated. That's why we call this secretory phase. Because why? You have glands that are secreting fluid. There is a fluid. Why are we secreting this fluid? Because if there is a pregnancy, that first baby should have some nutrition. That nutrition will be provided by these glands. That happens because of the hormone progesterone. I told you, right? Progesterone massive peak. We are in a very high level of progesterone. It takes about 14 days. Body temperature also increases slightly. Okay. This is this line. This line is a body temperature line. This red color line, I hope you can see. This red color line is body temperature. Is body temperature. So when a female is in the luteal phase or the secretory phase, their body temperature is slightly high. Slightly high. Okay. Body temperature is slightly high. You females feel this, right? When they are in the secretory phase, they feel they have sort of like a body warmth, right? Their body temperature is high. Follow this line, na? Body temperature line. Okay. I'll explain again. Okay. I'll explain again. Any questions? Always follow this diagram. This is your diagram. What are the questions that you have? Send your questions to the main chat. Blank completed tube to the group as well. Yeah, sure, I'll send. Can we have a break? Okay. Right. Sure. There's a question. So after menopause, a female cannot give birth to a child? No. Of course. Because why? There is no eggs. No eggs coming out. Right. Okay. Take a small break. 10 minutes. Okay. Then I'll explain this again. Okay, take a small break. 10 minutes, sir. 10 minutes break. Okay. Come back. Join back in 10 minutes. එමයි කියලා කියලා නිදාගන්න එපා. Okay, join back in 10 minutes. එමයි කියලා නිදාගන්න එපා. Okay. Okay. Shall we start again? Shall we start? Quick enough, right? Okay. So can you hear me? All good, right? Okay, right. Let's start. We have a lot more to cover today. Okay. Right. If I explain menstrual cycle again, right? If I explain the menstrual cycle again, so we have two organs that are involved in the menstrual cycle in the female. You have the ovary that is going to undergo the ovarian cycle. You have the uterus that is going to undergo the uterine cycle. Ovary is the loka. Ovary is in control. Whatever ovary is doing, it will be followed by the uterus. Ovary has two parts as the follicular phase and the luteal phase. Follicular phase is where the follicles start to grow up to until there is the ovulation. Egg is released from the ovary. Luteal phase is from ovulation forwards. All right. Under follicular phase, there are two parts of the uterine phase. That is the menstrual phase and the proliferative phase. Proliferation. Okay. Right. In the menstrual phase, what is happening is there is bleeding. Right. From the previous cycle, the uterus that was built up will be broken down. It will be like a flow of blood from the vagina coming out. It will contain some of these secretions, clotted blood, and also some tissue, right? Right. It contains this uterine layer, right? The layer of the uterus. It's like a carpet, right? The carpet was laid down what? Because of what? Carpet was laid down because the uterus thought there is a baby on the way. The uterus thought there's a baby on the way. That's why it was preparing, but baby didn't come. So that uterus lining is going to be broken down. Menstrual phase, and you have the proliferative. In the proliferative phase, what is happening is because of this estrogen, this uterus layer is getting bigger, bigger, bigger. At the same time, there's another two hormones that are called FSH and LH that are secreted by who? Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland in the brain. Particularly FSH is going to control this follicular phase, that is the growing of the follicle. As the name says, namematinon, follicle stimulating hormone. It stimulates the growth of follicles. Very simple, right? So then at the end of follicular phase, there's going to be another hormone called luteinizing hormone that is going to cause ovulation. There's going to be a peak in the LH that is going to cause ovulation. That is the end of the follicular phase. Then you have the secretory phase where the uterine lining becomes even more thicker and thicker and thicker. That is to welcome a new baby. So when that is happening, you have in the ovary this glandular structure left behind after the ovum was released. That is called corpus luteum. Corpus luteum secretes the progesterone hormone that is going to make the uterine lining thicker and thicker and thicker. But because there is no pregnancy, this corpus luteum is going to die. It will become a මෙහෙම scar එකක් that is called the corpus albicans. Corpus albicans is not secreting anything. It's not secreting anything. It's just a scar. නිකන් තුවාලයක් කොඳ වෙච්ච තැනක් වගේ. It's like a wound that was healed. So the hormones levels are going to come down. පේනවනේ? The progesterone, estradiol, ඔක්කොම coming down. Therefore, this uterine lining will not be maintained. It will break down. It will break down. So that's why you have bleeding. Very simple. This is the uterine side. Sorry, this is the menstrual side. Any questions you have? Okay. Right. Now we can come to if there was a sperm, if there was a sperm coming, right? If a sperm came from the vagina, right? If a sperm came, මේ පැත්තෙන්, right? So this is like a part of the uterus. No? මෙහෙන් if there was a sperm, මෙහෙම out sperm එකක්. Can you see? Here you can see the sperms, right? If a sperm came, so the female had sexual intercourse, and if a sperm came, there can be fertilization. If fertilization happens, what can you have? There can be a future baby, right? So the future baby starts with when you plug the baby, right? You have to plug the baby into the uterus lining for it to grow bigger and bigger, right? මෙතන තියෙනවා වචනයක්. What is it? Copulation. Copulation කියන්නේ having sex ඉතින්, okay? Copulation is the sexual intercourse. Seminal fluid will be released from the penis into the vagina, right? ඇතුළට push ගාලා spray. Sperm cells swimming, right? Flagellum එක තියෙනවනේ හොඳට swim කරන්න පුළුවන්. Pass through the uterus towards the upper part of the fallopian tube, right? Fertilization කියන එක වෙන්නේ, the fertilization happens in the upper part of the fallopian tube. So can you imagine the distance the sperms have to swim? කෙලිම marathon එකක් වගේ, right? Sperms have to swim such a long distance. අපි මේ උඩට ගිහිල්ලා let's go up and see the full anatomy. Can you imagine how long the sperm has to swim? Imagine the sperm came, I mean the sperm should come from here, no? From the vulva, ඔහොම ගිහිල්ලා, right, through the vagina, through the cervix, through the uterus, through the fallopian tube, up to the sort of the end of the fallopian tube, sperm has to swim. Right? It's like a marathon for the sperm. That's why sperm have to be very, very healthy. Yeah? They have to be very active, very motile. කම්මැලි sperm, lazy sperm තියෙනවා that man is sort of less able to produce children, right? Pass through the uterus towards the upper part of the fallopian tube. Then one of the sperm fuses with the ovum passing through the uterus. Here the nucleic matter of the ovum, right? So the ovum has a nucleus, no? And the sperm fuses together. This is called fertilization. Fertilized ovum is known as skin. zygote. While it is rolling towards the uterus, it divides into the number of cells to increase the number of cells. This is then it is known as morula, which disintegrates the tissue of the uterine wall, sinks and deposits into the wall. This is known as implantation. So your zygote is a single cell. Your zygote is a single cell. Can you see? This is the egg or the ovum. Okay, this is the egg. Now can you see? I think you can see in your tubes, but not in the screen. You have the sperms here. These sperms come into the egg. Then the sperm has its nucleus. So this is the zygote. This is the zygote. This is also zygote. Actually, the zygote is the egg cell with the sperm inside. It's the egg cell with the sperm inside. Then it starts to divide. So you can see within, so this is day one, egg is released, day two, fertilization, day three, four, five, 6. Within 7 days, this is the morula. Morula will arrive at the uterus. Right? Morula will arrive at the uterus through the fallopian tube. Then it will sort of deposit. What we it's actually very invasive. It's like a plug එකක් ගහනවා, right? You are plugging the morula. You don't call it the morula. We actually call it the blastocyst. You don't know need that name, right? It's actually you plug the morula or the this ball of cells into the endometrium or the inner layer of the uterus. That is called what? Implantation. 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 Okay. So this is a diagram of an egg. This big thing is an ovum, right? Surrounded by what? Ovum surrounded by thousands of eggs. Plus thousands, even yes, thousands of eggs. Right? Only one is a winner. So you know the semen has about so අපි කියනවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් semen has about 5 milliliters, 5 to 10 milliliters. 1 milliliter has about 4 to 5 million, right? So average අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් about 25 million sperms are released, right? Out of that only about few thousand, 5,000, 10,000 sperms තමයි reach the egg, right? So out of those there is only one winner. There's only one is going to go into the egg and fertilize it. There's only one winner. Okay. So this is a ovum surrounded by sperm. Then development of the fetus. So after implantation, what's going to happen? Mitosis, 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 mitosis. Right? What is the cell division? It's always going to be mitosis. Huh? In about 6 weeks, protective membranes called can embryonic membranes. Okay, embryonic membranes develop. Embryonic membranes, ඇත්තටම there is 4 embryonic membranes. You don't need this, right? I'll give you one name that is called amnion කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. There's an embryonic membrane called amnion. ඒකේ තියෙනවා amniotic fluid කියලා එකක්. මේ කියන්නේ there's a fluid in them. There's a sunk in this fluid. අම්මගෙන් ඕනනම් අහන්න, have you heard of something called pregnant mothers saying pregnant mothers ලට වෙනවා water එක break වෙනවා, water breaking. Water break වෙලා ඉස්පිරිතාලේ ගෙනිච්චා pregnant mother. Have you heard? Water bag broke. Water bag, right? Water bag breaking means one of these embryonic membranes breaking, that is the amnion breaking, and this whole baby is in water. It's in the water called uh, amniotic fluid. So that fluid is coming out when the baby is just about to be born. That's why we say water bag එක break වුණා. Water bag එක break වුණා කියන්නේ it's one of these embryonic membranes has broken and the fluid has come out. There's a question. What will happen to the other sperms? They are just absorbed into the female system. They are just absorbed or digested into the female system. They don't matter, right? Uh, the place the embryonic membranes connect with the uterine wall is called Kian. This is a very nice place that is called the placenta. Very nice structure called the placenta. Placenta is like a plug base, right? Placenta is like a plug base. So here, can you see? This is the placenta. Okay. So he put another diagram. See, this is a real image of a preserved baby. Okay, right? Preserved baby from a. I mean, the baby did not survive, right? Uh, this is the placenta. Can you see? This is the placenta. And can you see? I'll use a yellow color. This entire thing is the uterus. This is the uterus. Okay. So your placenta is like a plug base that is going to connect. What is a plug base? Right? So මෙහෙම there is a wire cord, right? If you have a plug, if you have a plug, මෙහෙම plug එකක් තියෙනවා නම්, right? And at the corner of it, you have this sort of plug, right? Imagine. Then you need what? In the wall, you need a plug base. This is the plug and the plug base. So here, imagine you have maybe මොකක් හරි electrical appliance or TV එකක් වගේ, right? So this TV is like the baby. There's the wire cord that is called what? The wire cord that is connecting the baby to the mother is called the umbilical cord. ඒකෙත් cord කියලා කැලලක් තියෙනවානේ. It has cord in its name. It's like a wire cord. This plug that is connecting the baby to the mother is the placenta. Placenta has actually two parts, that is the plug and also plug base is also part of the placenta. Placenta has two parts, right? There, one part is belonging to the mother, one part is belonging to the baby. So this is the baby. Yeah? Baby is not a TV, but right, this is the baby. This is how the baby is connected to the mother. Right. So that's what's going to happen. Material exchange from the mother to the fetus and fetus to the mother occurs through, yes. What is the plug cord? Umbilical. Umbilical cord. Mostly umbilical cord is there to give nutrients and also oxygen to the baby. Because why? The baby can the baby breathe? Can the baby breathe? The baby is in a liquid, no? The baby is in a liquid. Baby maluik. The baby can't breathe. So oxygen, everything has to be given by the mother. So that oxygen comes through the umbilical cord. But the problem is some diseases, right? What are the diseases that you know that can come to the baby from the mother? What is the most severe thing? Can be HIV. Some other STDs, right? That can come from the mother to the baby through the umbilical cord and through the placenta. Okay? Some diseases. Very, very important. I told you, I mean, this placenta is a connection between the baby and the mother, but Mother's blood never comes into the baby. It is only material exchange, only nutrients, oxygen, and sometimes pathogens can come and go, but there is no mixing of blood. Blood exchange does not occur. It is modified like, okay, it is modified in a such a way that there is no blood exchange between the baby and the mother. Okay, there's a diagram in your textbook that is showing you the placenta nicely. That's why I didn't put a diagram. Right, placenta and the umbilical cord. I'll show you when I'm screen sharing again. So you can label these diagrams. You can label these diagrams. Right. Label these diagrams. This is zygote. This is a zygote. Right. You can see the two male and the female nucleus. This is this is also a zygote that is just about to start dividing to become a morula. This is 11 weeks. This is 12 weeks. This is 18 weeks baby. Finally, this is a 19-week baby. And finally, this is a 23-week baby. Okay. How long is the pregnancy? How long is the pregnancy? How long is the pregnancy? Ken, how many weeks is the pregnancy? Yes, 9 months. Yes, 36 to 38, 39 weeks. Average 38 weeks. Right. So, this is a 23-week baby. Right. As homework, what I want you to do is fill this chart with the different month. What happens in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6, 7, 8, and 9 months? What are the significant things that are happening in these milestones? Right. For example, at the 3 months, male sex organs are completely developed. Right. Completely means, right, you can see. Right. At 3 months means how many weeks? 12 weeks. You can see the genitalia, right? Podiator, you can see the male and female genitalia. And when you do an ultrasound, matakane, right? Babala, you do the first ultrasound at 3 months, right? When the mother is pregnant, you do the first ultrasound scan as 3 months. And that ultrasound scan will show you if you are having a boy or a girl. Okay. Then 4 months are the skeleton. Then 5 months, fetal movements, very, very important. And also heartbeat. The heart starts to beat usually at fifth month, we say, yeah, around 20 weeks. Yes, 20 weeks. 36, I mean, 6 months, nothing much important. Seven, skin is wrinkled, right? 7 months means how many weeks? About 28 weeks, right? Skin is kind of wrinkled. Can you see? Right, because why the baby is not having that much body fat is a bit low, therefore the baby's skin is a bit wrinkled, right? Afterwards, then can you see in 8 months fat deposition start to happen. 9 months, what's going to happen? Testes have come to the scrotum. එතකොට I testis මෙච්චර කල් කොහෙද හිටියේ? You might ask, where were the testis before 9 months? Right, where were the testis before? Actually, your are inside your body before you are born, right? The testes are inside your body. They are not in the scrotum when you are in your mother's uterus, but when you are just about to be born, the testis comes into the scrotum and settles. But in about every one boy out of three, every one male boy out of three babies is not going to have the testis in the scrotum when they are born. It's not late blooming. We call it delayed descent. Okay, testis haven't descended, but within the first 6 months of being a baby, the testis are going to come out into the scrotum. Right, scrotum එකට ආවේ නැත්නම් it's an issue. Okay, sometimes we have to do a surgery within 1 year if the testes are not in the scrotum. Problem. Sometimes we have to do a surgery. Okay, right. That is homework. මම කරා හැබැයි homework එක. Okay, right. අග්ගාලෙන්න to the end game. End game. මේ ඔක්කොම නැටු නටන්නේ. Final to get a finished product. What is it? A full baby. Right. When the baby is close to be born, මෙහෙමයි වෙන්නේ. Usually the baby is usually lying with the head in this direction. If the baby is going to be born normally, right? On the babek now, on the babek කියන්නේ normal විදියට behave වෙන baby na, the baby is going to turn. මෙහෙම on the is going to do a nice rollover, and the head is going to come to the lower end, and then it's easy for the childbirth. Because why? The head is the biggest part. So if the head comes out first, then it's very easy. So this is the sort of standard way. The neck is going to be sort of the flex like this, and the baby will be pulled out. Right. So this is the baby coming out, and finally, what's going to happen is this placenta should be separated from the uterus. Uterus wall එකෙන් the placenta should be removed, separated, and with the so umbilical cord is cut, no? Right? When the baby is out, the umbilical cord will be cut. In young, my mic is off. No, right? No, right. Okay. So you have seen, right? Very fresh babies like they have a clip here. That is to sort of the clip the umbilical cord that is been cut, right? And the uterus, so the placenta will also be delivered. So these are the three steps, right? Parturition or the childbirth. Close to childbirth, head of the fetus in the uterus turns towards vagina after completion for development. 280 days. Okay, fill in the blanks. On why do we have uterine wall? Why is the uterine wall composed of muscles? To push the baby out. To push the baby out. Okay. Further contraction of the uterine wall disconnects the placenta and associated tissues. And the umbilical cord is cut and tied. Right? Umbilical cord is cut and tied from the mother baby's side. It is cut and there's a gatak down, not a cut down. Okay. Okay, right. Finally, we come to the last part of human reproduction, right? Finally, we come to the last part of human reproduction, sexually transmitted diseases, right? I'm not going to go through a lot here because most of these are just you can read and understand. Taggala kiyanne, what is the bacteria? Gonorrhea is a bacterial disease. Gonorrhea is a bacterial disease caused by kiyanne. MCQ, right? Neisseria. When you're writing in the CQ, be very careful when you write scientific names. Neisseria, simple G, gono, hoiae, right? There's a lot of vowels. Huh? Neisseria, gonorrhea, right? There are some classic signs of gonorrhea. Maybe there can be abscess secretions. And if the mother has gonorrhea when she got pregnant, the baby can get what we call as the eye infection, gonorrheal eye infection, conjunctivitis, which can cause blindness. These are drawings, don't be bothered, okay? These are drawings, otherwise your parents think I'm sending, right? It can cause blindness and lameness. Lameness means it can cause gonorrheal sort of affects bones, right? Lameness කියන්නේ මොකද? lame කියන්නේ නිකන් අර වැඩක් නැහැ කියන lameness නෙවෙයි. ඔක නෑ අර කුදු ගහනවා කියන එක, right? What do you call lame? What is another name for lame in English? Uh, can't walk properly, no? Lame, right? Syphilis. Syphilis is also a bacterial disease. These will be questioned with bacterial or viral. Troponema pallidum, syphilis. Right. I forgot one thing to do. This is a scientific name. Underline. Na? If you are writing a scientific name, underline. Troponema pallidum, underline. Herpes. Herpes. It's also a species name. Herpes simplex. Herpes is a family of viruses, but genital herpes, right? Genital herpes is caused by herpes simplex. Varicella zoster කියලා කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා, right? I'm just some additional, right? Varicella. එයා තමයි chicken pox one, right? Varicella zoster තමයි chicken pox one, okay? Is also a herpes virus, but herpes simplex is the genital sexually transmitted herpes, huh? Okay? Online people, online now, everyone is online, right? Nidhimata is there? No, right? Okay, what is happening in the chat? Yeah, right. Please don't spam the chat, okay? Right. Otherwise, people's questions will go unnoticed by me, okay? Okay, right. It's your responsibility. Right. Okay, herpes simplex can affect the nervous system, right? Uh, can affect the nervous system, right? Usually, all herpes viruses can affect the nervous system, particularly when you get chickenpox again, right? When you get chickenpox again, when you are as an adult, you can get some nervous system problems, right? It can cause permanent disability. Okay, it can cause permanent disability. It can go to the baby as well, right? Several problems. HIV is caused, sorry, AIDS is caused by HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, right? ඇත්තටම this AIDS කියන එක හැදෙන්නේ the human immunodeficiency syndrome is actually the later stage of HIV infection, right? So, as they say, you get AIDS 2 to 15 years after HIV infection, right? So, a person who just got this infection, you don't call as having AIDS. To call a person as having AIDS, they must have at least have it for 2 years, right? I mean, and also they should have the classical symptoms of AIDS. What are the symptoms? Their immune system is affected. Okay, usually HIV affects immunity, yeah? Immune system. So HIV infected or AIDS, people who have AIDS, they have very weak immunity. They have very weak immunity. Therefore, for example, imagine you get a sore throat, right? Sore throat එකක් එනවා from someone who was having a sore throat, right? But because you have a nice immune system, you're not going to get pneumonia with that small infection. But if you have someone that is having immunodeficiency syndrome, that can develop into pneumonia, that can go into respiratory distress, and they can die from that, right? But there are now treatments. Now you can be completely, I mean, almost healthy with AIDS. You can be almost healthy with AIDS. There are drugs for HIV, right? There are drugs for HIV. So the best thing is to get tested and also get treatment. Okay, so that with that, with the that is the end of um, the human reproduction parts, right? Mm, any questions you have? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? I think before we go to plant reproduction, I think I should finish the genetics part. What do you think? I think I should finish the genetics part. What do you think? Otherwise, I think that is more important, right? Because it's almost 8 p.m., right? I think we better jump to genetics. What do you think? Send me in the chat. What do you think? Shall we move on to genetics and pause with the reproduction? Yeah, right. Inheritance. Okay, right. So, inheritance is in page number 170. Okay, textbook. Tagalog textbooks, right? Textbooks. Page number 70. 170. Sorry, 169 onwards. Okay. Right. So ignore මුලින්ම තියෙන pages. Ignore all the first few pages. Right? Ignore all these first few pages. The body of features of every human is not familiar. Blah blah. Different colors and these are all. There's no time for us to go through ඒ වගේ ලස්සන කතන්දර, right? So different skin tone, ability to roll the tongue. Can you roll the tongue? It's a ability you inherit genetically, yeah, right? Some people have the gene that gives them the ability to roll the tongue. Others don't have it. Dimples in the skin, sorry, in the cheek. There is actually dimples in the cheek. Do you know it's a defect? Dimples in the cheek. It's a defect. There's a muscle that is too short here. Okay, that's why you get dimples. It's a defect, something wrong, right? There's a muscle that is too short. So when that muscle is contracting, it is actually pulling on the skin. It's pulling the skin, so the skin goes inside. Pimples is due to pimples have multiple reasons. Pimples are due to your skin getting infected, right? The pores in your skin getting infected, right? Bacteria getting in there, right? And also some hormones, people due to hormones, some people are more susceptible to get pimples. But that's because when you have too much oily skin, your the pores get blocked. So with that oil, bacteria in your skin surface go into the pores, and there is an infection. Okay, dimples is a different thing, huh? And also this is called hitchhiker's thumb. If you fully extend your thumb, if it's straight, that is called straight thumb. This is curved thumb. So I have curved thumbs. Then widow's peak. I don't have widow's peak, right? That is like this pointed hairline. All those are genetics, right? Ignore all those. I want you to come to Mendel's experiments, page number 174. Mendelian genetics, right? So Gregor Mendel was actually a Catholic priest, right? He's known as the father of genetics. He was a very, very smart person, right? In A levels, you will learn very deeply about Mendelian genetics, right? Because when Mendel did these genetic experiments, there was no understanding about anything, right? There were no microscopes. There were no even people even didn't know about DNA. People didn't know about the nucleus inside the cell. Nothing was known when Mendel did these experiments. So that's because of that reason Mendel is very, very respected, because he discovered all these things without the core knowledge. He didn't know anything, but he did experiments. He chose a very specific species of organism, that is actually a plant, to do his experiments. What is it? Marakiyan Taggala? Garden pea. Right? They can ask you in the paper. Pisum sativum. Pisum sativum කියන එක ගත්තේ. They can ask you in the structured essay paper. What are the, why did he choose garden peas? Can be easily grown, can obtain the yield within a short period, can obtain pure breeding. What do you mean by pure breeding is, for several generations over and over, you cross the same plant again and again, right? That means you don't allow any other plant to mix with the plants that you have right now, right? That is called pure breeding. It's very easy to pure breed pea plants because you can keep them inside greenhouses. You can keep them inside greenhouses and protect them from other garden peas. Okay. Easily observable contrasting characters. This is very important. Okay. Pay attention. Okay. Pay attention. Right. What are contrasting characters? I have given here what Mendel used as the contrasting characters. Right. It's a bit blurry, no? Right. But I hope your tunes are better. Right. He used some contrasting characters. What are they? Contrasting means you should be able to clearly differentiate. ඒ කියන්නේ purple and නිකන් light purple වගේ වුණොත් it's very hard to differentiate. But purple and white is good. Very easy to differentiate. Yellow and green, yes, very good. You can clearly see this seed is yellow, this seed is green. Then flower position, right? If the flower is on the side or on the top. If the stem is tall, if the stem is short. Those contrasting traits. That is very important. Right? That's one of the features. Naturally self-pollinating, when necessary cross-pollination also possible. Okay, other mama urine calling, I'll teach what is self and cross-pollination as well. Right? Even if you have to stay after 9, okay? Right? So that's, these are the reasons. These are the reasons why Mendel chose garden peas. Right? Mendel chose Pisum sativum for his experiments. Huh? Okay, right? Pay attention. Okay, don't fall asleep. Only 2 weeks left. Huh? Only 2 weeks left. Okay. Okay. So Mendel did his experiments like this. So one of the most famous experiments of Mendel was to cross purple flowers, pure breeding purple flowers with whites. This is one of the most famous experiments done by Mendel. So how he did it was, he took some male pollen from the white flowers and put them on the female parts of the purple flower, and he got this sort of seeds, and then he planted the seeds, then he waited until he got the flowers again, right? That's how Mendel did the experiments. So Mendel did this experiment. He crossed purple with white. Okay. He crossed pure breeding purples with pure breeding whites. So what happened? This is the P generation, or we say parental generation. Pay attention, right? Genetics, okay? Then he got, so he crossed purples with whites. So how many times did you think he crossed? එකපාරයිද කරේ? Did he cross only one purple flower with only one white flower? No. Can you see? There's a number here. Right? 705 to 224. He crossed almost 900 flowers. He crossed almost 900. Okay, I'll disable the chat. Okay. You can ask questions afterwards. Okay. Mm. So Mendel did this crossing for almost 900 flowers. That's how he did genetic experiments, right? With for genetics, you cannot do only one crossing and stop there, because genetics is a probability science. It's a law. It's a science that is based on probability, right? Ekamala cross kara kela, you're not going to get results, right? So what happened was he crossed almost 900 flowers, and for the first generation he got all purples. Okkuma purple hamburi. Then what he did was he crossed within these purples. May purples la atare he did cross fertilization, self fertilization. He did. Then he got what? He got 705 purple and 224 white. Now what happened? He got some whites and he got a lot of purples. If you take this as a ratio, this is almost, if you multiply this by 3, you are going to get something 700, close to 700. This is very close to the ratio 3 is to 1. Is very close to the ratio 3 is to 1. Okay. Is very close to the ratio 3 is to 1. So Mendel wanted to see why in this first generation there was all purple, and the second generation he got this 3 is to 1 ratio. He wanted to know what's the problem. I mean, what's the reason? So, with that knowledge, let's move on to how actually characters are determined. How using what is a gene and how those genes decide what an organism looks like or behaves like, right? Hey, Mendel said that features of an organism are determined by a special factors, right? Those factors, right? He said he didn't know anything, right? He didn't know anything about what? Mendel didn't know anything about DNA, right? Mendel didn't know anything about DNA. But now we know what? Our characters are determined by the information in our DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, right? Mendel didn't know about DNA, but he thought there is something we get from our parents that is going to determine how the children look like. He only knew that. He thought, Hari, in the pea plant, these parents give these children or offspring something that is going to determine their flower color. So that's how he did his experiments, right? Okay. So to understand that, we have to go a bit here, right here, right? Deoxyribonucleic acid present in chromosomes. Chromosomes are found where? In the nucleus. Acts as the genetic material that transmits features of organism from generation to generation. So from your father or your mother, how you received information is through DNA, is through DNA in the nucleus. Okay. Okay. So if you want to talk about the double helical structure of DNA, I'll show you a bit. Was DNA first discovered by two scientists called actually Watson Crick and sorry, James Crick and Franz. Wait, hold on. Watson and Crick. මට මේගොල්ලන්ගේ මුල් නම් මතක නැහැ, right? Watson and Crick. Francis Crick, I think. James Watson and Francis Crick. Right? Watson and Crick. Right? I'll show you how DNA is like, but I think it's not in your syllabus a little bit, right? It's not exactly in your syllabus, but right. But it's important for your A level life that you know what a DNA is like, right? If you take DNA, it's like this. It's like a mehima. It's like a staircase, spiral staircase එකක් වගේ DNA, right? DNA is like a spiral staircase, right? That is going to hold all this information. It is actually composed of this sort of four types of chemicals that are called nucleic acids that are in this sort of helical shape. මේ පඩි පෙළක් වගේ, it's like a spiral staircase. So it's going to compact itself, pack itself into this structure called the chromosome, right? These are called chromosomes or varna deha. Because why do we need chromosomes is that we have so much DNA in a cell. If you take one of my cells from my body, inside that there is so much DNA, right? It's there's a very large, very long this length of DNA molecule. The thing is the cell is very small, there's a lot of DNA. So the best thing is to do what? To pack this DNA tightly. අපි නිකන් ලස්සනට යාව හොඳට tightly pack කරනවා into a structure that we call as the chromosome. Chromosome. සිංහලෙන් වර්ණ දෙක. These chromosomes contain so much information, right? These chromosomes contain so much information. Yes, that's all I wanted to show you. Right. So this is again something. This is how DNA is composed of. If you go to molecular level, right? This is that spiral staircase, right? Double helix. We call it a double helix. Okay. Right. Okay. Come back down. Right. Then we move on to something called homologous chromosomes. Right. So it's a nice concept that I want you to understand. Right. I hope did you learn this when you are learning this homologous? Sorry, when you are doing inheritance, did you learn about these things? So if you uh, think about how you were produced, right? Father gave the sperm. Mother mother gave the egg. Right. Mother gave you half of the DNA you have. Mother gave you half of the DNA that you have. Father gave you half of the DNA that you have. So if you are a human, how many chromosomes do you have? I have given here. How many chromosomes do you have? It actually changes from different species to species. They say mouse has 40, chimpanzee has 48, paddy has 24, carp has 104. Humans, we have 46. එහෙම නැත්නම් we say 23 pairs. You can see here, right? There's 23 pairs. මේ දෙන්න special. These are sex chromosomes. Okay. So half came from your father, half came from your mother. So actually, if you take two of these are, can you see these are connected, right? These are closely associated. So I'll say this one of these pairs came from the father, one came from the mother. So if you are a human, you got 23 chromosomes from the mother, you got 23 from the father, right? And the important nice thing is they are sort of structurally similar. Again, they look similar, right? The mother and the father, the chromosomes that they gave you, if you nicely match them up, if you pair them up, you can pair them according to their appearance. So the biggest two like this. You can arrange the biggest two like this. Sorry. You can arrange the biggest two like this. Then the next biggest two like this. Right? ඒ වගේ you can arrange these 23 and 23 from your mother and father into what we call as homologous pairs. If you take a homologous pair, one came from the male, one came from the female. So here, this is තාත්තගේ, this is අම්මගේ. But you have both, right? And if you take a closer look, they contain the genes, right? When we have genes in your chromosome, they are our genes. Genes do what? Genes determine characters. Genes determine characters, right? For example, your skin tone, your intelligence, your height, ability to roll your tongue, your eye color, hair type, straight or wavy, whatever will be decided by the genes in these chromosomes. Okay, right? So, with this understanding, we can come to this next concept that is called homologous, homozygous and heterozygous. What do you mean by homozygous? Right? Homozygous means, for example, if you go to this homologous chromosome, can you see here? There is capital A and capital A. That means the two genes are the same, right? I'm not going to use the this is not the proper word. The proper word is not gene, nah? The proper word is not gene, right? But it's in your syllabus. That's what I'm going to use. The proper word is allele, but I'm not going to use it. Right? You can see the two genes are same, no? Capital A and capital A. That means what? In both homologous, so from your mother and father chromosomes, they are the same. That means there is a homologous pair, right? So, what is the definition of homologous? I'm sorry, homozygous. Huh? What is the definition? If two genes are similar for a given feature, then you can say it's a homozygous condition. Then, if you go down to this diagram again, you will see මෙතන ඉන්නවා there's a simple C and a capital C. That means what? They are not the same. They are not the same. So, if you have two, if the genes are not similar, you call it heterozygous. If two genes are not similar, then it's called heterozygous. Okay. Then there's something I want you to know that is called dominant versus recessive genes. What do you call dominant versus recessive means when you have two genes in this heterozygous condition, එකස් gene එකක් is the locker. One gene is more powerful than the other gene, right? One gene can be more powerful than the other gene. That gene is called the dominant, more powerful than the other gene. That gene is called the dominant gene, right? So, if you take this homozygous condition for this purple, can you see purple එකට? Let's say this purple color. I have included a diagram, I think. Yes, nahi. Can you see? Right? See this gene, sorry, this chromosome is father's. This chromosome is mother's. Blue එක father ගේ, red එක අම්මගේ. This is the gene. අපි gene එක when we magnify, it's actually DNA. So this is the gene. When you magnify that gene, you have a DNA. So what that DNA is going to do is actually code for some enzymes. It's going to code for some enzymes. That enzyme is going to produce the purple color. That's how you get purple color. That's similarly for us also. That's how you get your skin color. Skin color is due to a pigment called melanin. If you have the chemicals to make this melanin a lot, that means your skin color is going to be dark. If you don't have a lot of melanin, that means your skin color is going to be light, right? So that's the same for purple color. So in this example, this purple color determining gene, purple color determining gene is dominant. Purple color determining gene is dominant. So what's going to happen? We'll listen very, very carefully, right? What's going to happen is, listen very, very carefully. In this condition, where the two genes are not same, P, capital P and simple P Velavedi, who is the lokka? Who is the leader? Or who is the most powerful? Capital P. Therefore, this simple P will be ignored. This simple P will be ignored. So, purple color will be produced. Purple color will be produced. What is the only situation that simple P can work? Simple P causes what? Simple P causes white color. What is the only time simple P can work is when he is alone. Only simple P. Without any capital P, if simple P is there, then he can do his thing. But if there is at least one capital P, then the simple P is what? Powerless, very weak. That's why we say, if you have capital P, yes, purple. If you have capital P, simple P, also purple. Capital P, simple P, purple. But if you have simple P, then only white. Okay, then only white. Then only white. Can you understand? Can you understand what is dominant and recessive? It's actually powerful and powerless. Okay. I have enabled your chats again, na? So you can ask any question. Okay. If you have any questions, you can ask. Huh? Okay. Right. Okay, I'll come to monohybrid cross. Don't worry. Yeah. May basic understanding to you cannot come to crossing. Huh? Okay. Now clear. How, what is a homologous pair? How your mother and father gives you chromosomes, right? May podi meiosis චුට්ටකුත් මෙතන දැම්මා, right? I included a small diagram of meiosis, right? Just for you to remember, right? Meiosis. This is what a gene looks like, right? It's a piece of DNA that is going to determine a certain feature, right? So that's how you get different features. There are genes that are dominant, there are genes that are recessive. For the recessive gene to work, what is the only place? You have to be recessive homozygous. Otherwise, the recessive gene is always masked, hidden, right? So, I'll come to introduce these two terms now. What is a phenotype? What is a genotype? The feature that externally appears is known as phenotype. එළියට පේන දේ is the phenotype. But inside, if you take the cells, the genetic composition is known as the gene. Right? You have to fill these. Huh? So what can you see? Genotype is not always same as phenotype. Can you understand? Because why? එළියෙන් පේන්න තියෙනවා. To the outside you can see purple, 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 right? You from the outside you see purple, purple, purple. But if you go and look at the genes, you will see that their genotypes are different. It can be capital P, capital P, capital P, simple P, capital P, simple. So the phenotypes can be different from genotypes. Understood? Right? Phenotypes can be different from genotypes. So with that basic concept, so can you understand your resource? I mean, your textbook is, I don't know, it should be revised, right? Now it's too late. But can you understand? Whenever they start with the deep stuff and then come to the basic concepts, right? It's not the proper way, right? I hope you were taught that way, but never mind. But understand with me now, right? So now we come to this. What happened here? Why did we get this 3:1 ratio? For that we need what? That understanding. So let's go to the whiteboard and draw this monohybrid cross, right? Mendel's monohybrid cross. What did he do? He crossed purple, pure breeding purples with white. He crossed pure breeding purple with white, right? This generation is known as, sorry, is known as parental generation, right? These are the parents. He crossed the parents. So these are pure breeding parents. So now tell me, if someone is pure breeding, what are the genes that he can have? Pure breeding now. That means what? He has to be dominant. He has to be dominant homozygous. He has to be dominant homozygous. That means what? Capital P, capital P. If he is white, then what is the only possibility of genotype that is have? Simple P, simple. Ned. Then what are the gametes that they can produce? What are the gametes that they can produce? What are the gametes that this purple can produce? He can only produce what? He can only produce capital P. He can only produce capital P. What can the simple P produce? He can only produce simple P. Then, so now what we are going to do is, we are going to cross them. We are going to cross them. Right? We are going to do a nice crossing experiment. What you are going to obtain is the F1 generation. So what is the genotype of the F1 generation? What is the genotype of the F1 generation? It is capital P, simple P. Ne? Capital P, simple. So what is going to be the outer, let's say the output, or let's say the genotype? They are purple. Ne? Because why? This capital P is dominant. This capital P is dominant, right? Then what are we going to do is, we are going to cross F1 with F1. මේ set එකේ අයව ඇතුලේ cross කරනවා. We are going to cross fertilize these F1 people. So To visualize that, we are going to draw something that was introduced by a scientist called Panat. Panat කියලා scientist කෙනෙක් හොයාගත්ත වැඩක් කරන්න යනවා. Okay, that is to do what? We are going to draw a Panatගේ square එකක්. We are going to draw a Panat square. Panat square. So usually there's a male plant and a female plant. එතකොට මේ පැත්තේ sperm නම් මේ පැත්තේ egg. Right? So what are the sperms that can be produced? What are the sperms that can be produced? They can produce simple P sperm and capital P sperm. This side also they can produce capital P sperm and simple P sperm. Right? ඊට පස්සේ අපි මේ square එක complete කරමු. Right? You understood, right? This F1 generation can produce both, no? This F1 generation can produce both capital P and simple P gametes. Got it? So what are going to be the possible outcomes, right? Capital P, sorry, capital P, capital P, capital P, simple P, capital P, simple P, simple P, simple. Right? Then what is, tell me, එළියට පේන්නේ මොන වගේද ඒගොල්ලෝ? Right? How do they look like to the outside? Purple, milk purple, purple, only one white. So tell me, what is the ratio? Phenotypic ratio. ඒ කියන්නේ එළියට පේන phenotypic ratio, flower color ratio, purple to white ratio is what? 3:1. Phenotypic ratio is 3:1. Okay? Phenotypic ratio is 3:1. I'll explain again. I'll explain again. Right? This is not the example that you have in the textbook. So what we are going to do is, right? Okay, listen. We have two generations of flowers. One are purple, one are white, right? So for sure we know these purple are having capital P, because why capital P? Capital P is the gene that is going to produce the purple color, right? Capital P produces purple. Simple P තනියෙන් හිටියොත් he is going to produce white, but he is going to be almost always masked by the capital P, නේද? So if you take this capital P purple, what is the only type of gamete he can make? Because he has no other option, no? He has only capital P genes, so he is going to give capital P genes. This one only has simple P, so he is going to give simple P genes. Then we are going to cross. Then what are you going to get? You are going to get this F1. And I forgot to mention this. මෙන්න මේ F1 generation එකට තමයි monohybrids කියන්නේ. හරිද? මෙතන ඔයගොල්ලෝ බලන්න ඇතිනේ who are these monohybrids කියලා. මෙයා තමයි monohybrid. F1. Monohybrid. Why do we call it monohybrid? Because can you see, there is one capital or dominant, there is one recessive. So it's a half and half monohybrid, right? There is one hybrid. මේ වගේම dihybrid කියලා જાතියක් ඉන්නවා. නිකන් පොඩ්ඩක් තව ඔයගොල්ලන් right? ඒ වගේම dihybrid කියලා જાතියක් ඉන්නවා. So if you take අර tallness කියන එක capital T simple T capital P simple P tall short. එතකොට මේගොල්ලන්ට අපි කියනවා dihybrids, right? So do you have dihybrids in A levels? In O levels, you only have monohybrids. Then what we are going to do is we are going to cross the monohybrids with each other. We are going to cross the monohybrids with each other. Then you are going to draw this Punnett square, and in the Punnett square, you are going to get capital P nang purple, capital P simple P nang 8 purple, capital P simple P nang again purple, but simple P nang it's going to be white. So purple to white ratio is 3 to 1. Purple to white ratio is 3 to 1. Okay. I know it's difficult, but we have completed genetics. Got it? Right. Yes, I'll send the recording up. Okay. But if you can keep keep watching the live recording. Okay. Live stream. Got it? Let's go back to the tute. So this is how we explain why Mendel got 705 purple flowers and why Mendel got why Mendel got 705 purple flowers and why he got 224 white flowers. That is because of what? Dominant and recessive monohybrid. So this is the hybrid that we crossed and we got 3 is to 1 ratio of uh, flower color in the F2 generation. Got it? Then we come to that is the end of Mendelian genetics. ඔය ටික තමයි Mendel කිව්වේ, right? What Mendel mentioned was only those two, right? Then human sex determination is interesting, right? Human sex determination, you have to have this idea here. මෙන්න මේ දෙන්න දිහා බලන්න. These two, X and Y, that's what we need to understand human sex determination, right? That's what we need to understand human sex determination. We have what we call as 23 autosomal chromosomes. Autosomal කියන්නේ that are not related to sex. Then we have one pair of sex chromosomes. One pair, these are 23 pairs, pairs. Right? If you take a girl, female, they are going to have these two chromosomes that are called the X chromosomes, X and X. If you take a man, he is going to have X and Y. So, if you want boy, what is the combination that you need? Your mother can only produce X because why? She only has X. Your mother can only produce X chromosomes because එයාගාව තියෙන්නේ only X. Your father can produce both because he has X and Y both. So if you are a girl born to your parents, that means what? Your mother gave X, your father also gave X, so you became a girl. If you are a boy, then your mother gave X because she has no other option, but your father gave you a Y, so you became a boy, right? That's why you became a boy. So who is this most powerful chromosome? That is the what? මෙන්න මෙයා. චූටි වුණත් හරිම සරයි ගම්මිරිස්සටේ වගේ, right? This Y chromosome is very, it can decide if you are a male or a female. Very small, right? Now, can you see these X chromosomes are almost the same length? So we can call them as homologous. They are homologous to each other. They are matching, Notika. But what can you say about X and Y? They are not matching. You can't pair them up. You can't pair them up nicely because why? The Y is smaller. Y is chuti, right? Therefore, you can't pair them up. That becomes a problem when that becomes a problem when what we come to diseases that are caused by problems in these sex chromosomes. There are diseases that are caused by problems in the sex chromosomes. There can be other diseases that are caused by other chromosomes as well. Then තව 40 23 pairs තියෙනවා, right? There are so many other genetic disorders that are caused by problems in these all the other chromosomes. But something very special happens when you come to this X and Y, because why? This Y chromosome is small. එයා පොඩි හින්දා males face more problems. Males face a lot of problems because why? The Y chromosome is small. Because it's shorter, most of the genes are absent in Y. Therefore, for the X-linked genes, there are no complementary. ඒ කියන්නේ, when you have a problem in one of these X chromosomes, for example, imagine මෙතන තියෙනවා there's a gene that is coding for the visual pigments in your eye that helps you to see color, right? What are the colors that we see mainly, right? Our eyes only three: red, green and blue. Okay, so using those three colors we can see all the other mixtures of colors, right? There are sensors in our eye for red, green and blue color, right? So imagine there's a problem in the gene that is coding for the red and green color in the X chromosome. It's located in the X chromosome, but it's okay in a female because why? There's another X chromosome. තව X chromosome එකක් තියෙනවා. There's another X chromosome. Yes. Therefore, no problem. May problematic gene can be ignored because there's another X chromosome. But come to male. Imagine there's a problem in this X chromosome. There is no such gene in the Y chromosome because why? The Y chromosome is too small. Y chromosome එක පොඩි වැඩි. So there are no proper genes to cover up the mistake. That's why you are going to get diseases like color blindness. Right. අපි පොඩි නින්දිපත යන්නත් එක පොඩි ටෙස්ට් එකක් කරමු. Chat is open. You can send messages, right? What is the number that you can see here? Here is a number you can see here. Can you see a number? Or the screen is blurry there? Ah, now the chat is open. Okay. Okay. Tell me, what is the number you can see here? I'll zoom in a bit. What is the number you can see here? Normally, may eye test එකක් කරන්න, right? I'm doing this free of charge. I'm teaching you science free of charge, and I'm doing an eye test for you free of charge. Okay. I should start charging. Hurry. What is the number here? You can't see the number. It means you're colorblind. Right. It's just a pattern. Right. Okay. So this set of charts, this is called an Ishihara chart. It's sort of a Japanese scientist that introduced this, right? It's called an Ishihara chart that when you get your license also, driving license, they are going to give you this Ishihara chart to see what, if you can see red and green colors. And also blue. මේ වගේම red green වගේම blue blindness කියලා එකකුත් තියෙනවා. People can't see the blue color. People who have red green color blindness can't see red and green color. So if you have a driving license, then red green color blind people can't see traffic lights. Ne? That's a big problem. Right? If you can't see the traffic lights as red or green, then it's a big problem, right? So you cannot have a license if you are red or green colorblind, right? So color blindness is I mean X. The gene is located in the X chromosome. For red and green pigments, the gene is located in the X chromosome. It's like this. So the inheritance of this color blindness is like this. Imagine there's a mother. Okay, mother is hiding the colorblind. No, let's say the mother is healthy, yeah? And also remember, most of these diseased genes, bad genes, are recessive genes. Most of these bad genes are recessive genes. So this mother is healthy, so she has capital C, good genes. Father is colorblind. Father red green pain mein. So tell me, we don't draw it like this actually. අපි අඳින්නේ මෙහෙම. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් X එකේ capital C and X එකේ capital C. This means what? The mother is healthy. Then there's the father who has color blindness, simple C and capital Y. We don't write anything here because Y chromosome doesn't have anything. So tell me, so mother is healthy, father has color blind. Now tell me what is going to happen to their children? What's going to happen to their children? This mother can produce eggs that are all having this. අම්මා හදන ඔක්කොම eggs වල තියෙන්නේ capital C. This father can produce sperms that has X simple C or Y. Then අපි cross කරමු. Father Y, mother Y cross කර. Then you can have X capital C, X simple C, sorry, and X capital C and Y. So tell me, are any of these children going to be colorblind? මේ ළමයි කාටවත් color blindness එනවද? Sorry. Are any of these children going to be colorblind? No. This is what we call as හරි මට කියන්න මේ ළමයාගේ what is the gender of this child? This child, it's a female. නේද? X and X, but she's healthy. මේ ළමයාගේ what is the gender of this child? He's a male, but he's having what? The nice healthy gene from the mother. So he's also healthy. He's healthy, then I'm healthy. Both are not going to get color blindness. Right? Okay. As an example in your resource, which is the other way around, if you have a deceased mother and a healthy father. But even though this mother is we call healthy, this mother is not having color blindness, but sorry, not mother, this girl is not having color blindness, but she's a carrier. She's hiding the disease. She's hiding the disease. But she is healthy because she has a good allele. No? So she has a good gene. Okay, allele comes out, right? She has good genes, therefore she is safe. But she's a carrier. She's a carrier. Okay. Then there are other genes, right? I mean, I told you, other than the sex chromosome, there are so many other chromosomes. Ne? So these chromosomes can become damaged, they can change, they can undergo so many problems. So there can be so many other genetic diseases. One example is this albinism. So a person to be albino like this, හැමදේම white like eyebrows, hair, everything is white. For that you need this simple A combination. If you have capital A, that means you are healthy, right? But if you have capital A simple A, that means you are carrier, carrier. Okay. Similarly, there's a disease called thalassemia. Thalassemia වලදී වෙන්නේ hemoglobin is faulty. Bad hemoglobin molecules are produced. Bad hemoglobin molecules are produced. Therefore, um, they have low hemoglobin that is going to cause anemia or raktaheenatave in Sinhala. That means if you take a full blood count of them, they are going to have low hemoglobin. Even you don't need to take a full blood count, right? They have so many features. They get easily tired, they can't work a lot, they have pale sort of skin, අපේ වගේ red color tinge එකක් නැහැ, right? If you look under their eyes like this, have you seen doctors? When you go to the doctor, one of the first things they do is they look under your sort of eyelid. That is to see if you are anemic, if you have enough blood, right? If you have thalassemia, you are going to have anemia. Okay, right? Any questions? We have 15 minutes more. Let's do some questions from what we discussed today. Okay. I think your attention span is kind of dropping at this moment, right? So let's do a question and finish for the day. I think I have, yes, past paper 2021 to 20, yeah, 2021 past paper I have. I don't know why the quality is so bad. I saw some questions that we can do. Do you know how, I mean, out of the 40 MCQs, you know about 15 to 16 is a bio questions, right? Ah, nice. Quickly do this. Question number 15. I'm sorry, question number 12. Question number 12, right? I hope you can see, right? Question number 12. R and S. They're asking what is R and what is S. What is R and what is S? They're asking. Quickly send me. Quickly send me what's the answer. Quickly. Quickly. There are almost a lot of people in the group. Quickly, one. If I see anything other than the correct answer. Female is carrier. Yeah. When you don't send to the main chat, I tend to forget. It's free, yes. I mean, it's not a class that I do regularly. I do A-level biology. So after your O-levels, you can think about joining my classes, right? But just focus on your O-levels first. Yes. Very simple, no? R is the uterus, S is the vagina. Taggala label the others. What is Q? Fallopian tube. P, ovary. Okay. Next question, question number 13. Taggala, send me the answer. Question number 13. Quickly send me the answer. Mm. So I will let you know the future updates with the upcoming seminars and everything in the in the WhatsApp channel. The recording will be available in the WhatsApp channel because new people are going to be adding every day. So I can't keep on sending the recording. It will be available in the channel, right? And so, yeah, I will try to cover the maximum, go through the tutorials I have sent, right? So the second seminar will be from grade 11 from your systems, okay? And ovum fertilized with a sperm, where? Where is fertilization happening? In the fallopian tubes, okay? Fertilization is happening in the fallopian tubes, right? Very, very important to remember. Fertilization happens in the fallopian tubes, right? Anything else that we can do? No, no. Gas contributing. These are from biosphere. Anything? Yeah, from plant reproduction. There's something, right? Like I'll do it as much as I can next week, right? Yeah. Nothing much more that we can do in this paper, right? Anything genetics? Did you see any genetics questions? Do you have? This is an alveolus, right? We can do that after the next week's seminar. So you can see you cannot underestimate, right? You cannot underestimate. Okay. So what you can do is join with the next week's class, with the next week's seminar, and get the maximum benefit, right? Get the maximum benefit as much as possible from these free sessions. And I have some of my colleagues, particularly Janitu Leelananda and Vasindu Chammika, those are that are doing these similar seminars for O-level people, right? O-level students. So try to cover the physics and chemistry from those sort of seminars as well, right? Uh, and I think particularly the bio part is more. Let's say you can get more marks by studying the bio part than compared to physics and chemistry. Past paper discussion session. Okay, sure. The time is the issue. If you are able to join, but after, yeah, grade 11 will be next seminar. I will let you know, right? With the demand, I think I'll do a past paper discussion separately, right? That's good for you as well. Okay. Yeah. So keep in touch, share the recordings, add people to the group. Yeah, we'll finish for the day. The link will be sent. The link will be sent. I think I plan to do a YouTube live as well because today there was some issue. Yeah, keep studying. Huh? Keep studying, and after finish this O level bar exam, that's it's just a small barrier. Just get through it and in A level bio karana. Okay, right. Okay. Thank you for joining. Good night. Okay. Okay. Good night. I'll send the channel link again. Sure. If you're in the WhatsApp group, I'll send. Okay. Chemistry seminar is done by Pasindu Chamnik. Okay, I will send one of his. Sure, send the message. People who are not in the group, send a message to send a message to 0707886624. Send a message to this number. Okay.